So a 5-yard penalty makes it now 2nd and 3. That play does not count. So 2nd and 3 from the 34. If you joined us late, I'm Brendan Gulick, Ryan McNaughton alongside. Just 5 minutes into this one, the Jackets, with an impressive opening drive, went down and scored the game's first touchdown. Price motions. The exact same play they ran as the first play of the game, and again, it picks up positive yardage. A 2-yard pickup for Justin Magazine, the junior tailback from Warren Harding High School, and it brings up 3rd and 1.
Yeah, Brendan, Magazine coming off a career high last week. 154 yards on 28 carries. So we talked about how Isaac Reed was used as a workhorse for Baldwin Wallace. Well, Magazine is the exact same kind of guy for ONU. They're going to give him the ball an awful lot this afternoon.
Price in the slot. Matt Craven goes out wide to the left. This one going up the middle, and I think the Jackets were able to get to him. Justin Magazine took the handoff, and Baldwin Wallace's defense holds strong. So it will be 4th down, and this is an interesting opportunity for Ohio Northern. You wonder if they choose to punt early on. It appears that way. Kyle Bergman, the sophomore from Coldwater High School, on to kick it away. Back deep to return for Baldwin Wallace, Kyle Dunny and Kendall Bonnet. So it's 4th and about 2 feet. It's less than a yard. The Jackets pack that line of scrimmage just in case the Polar Bears try any tricky play. Bergman to boot it away. This is Bonnet from the 19. Shakes and bakes a couple tacklers, but can't pick up too much more. About a 5-yard return, so all things considered, Baldwin Wallace scores on their opening possession. The defense holds up very nicely on the first opportunity. Now they get the ball back with a chance to build themselves a comfortable lead.
Yeah, not bad field position after about a 44-yard punt. Last week we talked about that BW start, how it was, as good as can be. March down the field, then they got a safety on the first play from scrimmage from Bluffton. So here you go, you come out, you go 85 yards, get a 3 and out, now you got the ball back, now you're in control, now you're playing relaxed, now you can pin Ohio Northern with their backs against the wall.
We apologize for some of the technical difficulties we've had at the outset of the broadcast here. This is the 3rd drive of the game, 2nd for Baldwin Wallace. They went more than 80 yards on their opening drive for a touchdown. Isaac Reed, who scored that touchdown, takes the first down handoff and picks up about 4, maybe 5 yards as he runs to the left.
No surprise to see Reed running to his left. We saw that a lot last week, Brendan. Sean Hemlick had a heck of a day on the left side of the offensive line. Most of the big plays that the Yellow Jackets were able to garner last year went by just simply running to the left side. Nothing fancy.
Meglin, who I don't know if he went under center last week in anything other than a goal line situation, has now gone under center here with 7:44 left in the opening quarter. On 2nd and middle distance, it's Isaac Reed, and he is met just after the line of scrimmage. A 2-yard pickup. Cody Cox, the sophomore from Fort Wayne, Indiana, with the tackle for the Polar Bears. Under 7.5 minutes left in the opening quarter. Baldwin Wallace last week played a team in the Bluffton Beavers who were okay. BW built a 19-0 lead at halftime, but they were probably, I think it's probably safe to say, they were outplayed in the second half and ended up winning the game 32-20. This Polar Bears team had a much more impressive win over a really good opponent in Washington University. This one completed to the near side. The second effort picks up the first down. Darryl Jones all the way up near midfield. It's nearly a 20-yard gain after he was stopped almost shy of the sticks.
Well, Darnell Bloom, the cornerback, is going to watch that play on film throughout this week and just kick himself. He had that for a tackle for loss and a 4th down, and he couldn't complete the tackle.
It looks like Jones may have stepped out of bounds earlier than I thought, so the line of scrimmage is now the 44, but still a 14-yard play. Tyler Meglin last week, 18 of 24 for 237 yards, a touchdown and 1 interception that probably it's safe to say it was not totally his fault. It was thrown, though, inside the 5-yard line. Kaffer, the tight end, is motioning. Little movement on the defensive line. They hand it to Reed, a reverse play. Slack and throw it. Last year's QB. Wide open to Kyle Dunny from the 30. Here we go. Dunny down the sideline, and he's out at the 20. Well, I suppose when you've got last year's quarterback as a converted wide receiver, it makes for some fun when you can open up the playbook a little bit.
Yeah, not too many programs have that kind of weapon, and Slack just showing how multi-talented he is. But again, we've seen running the ball effectively early allows your offense to open up a little bit more.
4-receiver look on 1st and 10. Delayed handoff to Reed right up the middle, and Reed's inside the 15. Another BW drive that gets into the offensive red zone here early on. And Ryan, not that they didn't look impressive on offense last week, but this group seems to have some fire.
Yeah, clearly they put in time this week in the weight room, in the film room. They looked at what worked and what didn't work. I tell you what worked on that play, Alex Kurtz, left guard, might have gotten away with a hold, but hey, home field advantage. Take advantage of it.
5.5 minutes left in the opening quarter, 2nd and short. From the gun, Meglin looking around. Another Reed handoff. It'll be taken by Reed. And I think he's got the first down up to about the 11. He only needed about half the length of the football. So they will move the chains. Another Yellow Jacket first down. And BW against a pretty good Ohio Northern defense. Not necessarily the best in the conference, but they can certainly hold their own. They've moved the ball very effectively here in the early going. About 5 minutes left in the opening frame. BW leads at 7-0, looking to tack on a second score in as many offensive possessions. Wagoner and Slack go wide to the left. 2 tight end look with both Jones and Kapfer in. Pistol look. This one a fake handoff. Rolling to the right. Meglin going to tuck it. He's got a block, and he's across the goal line. Touchdown, Baldwin Wallace on the 11-yard touchdown run from the junior quarterback, Tyler Meglin.
Boy, and give the aforementioned Alex Kurtz, along with Isaac Reed, some credit there. Once quarterback decided to roll a couple of nice blocks on the outside, we're able to spring Meglin into the end zone.
Darrell Jones, the starting tight end, a little bit slow to get off the field. He's met by John Snell as he makes his way onto the near sideline. He's under his own power, so he's okay. 4:36 left in the opening quarter, and Baldwin Wallace has a 13-0 lead. They are just about ready here for the extra point. Jones usually in on that formation, so Baldwin Wallace will bring Theodore Washington over to the far side as a secondary protector. Simonis last week was really good. 3 field goals, 3-point afters, and he's got 2 PATs already here this afternoon. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns, and a defensive 3-and-out. I don't know if you can ask for much more than that.
Boy, you can't say enough about the start for Tyler Meglin. Through the air, 5 of 5 for 70 yards. On the ground, 3 rushes, 33 yards, and a touchdown. He's already accounted for over 100 yards of total offense, and we're still in the first quarter, Brendan.
This has been an impressive offense here in the early going this afternoon in Berea. Well, today's Yellow Jacket football game is being brought to you by Dan Anders and Olympic Forest Products, a global recycling company located in downtown Cleveland and at the new location out in Kidron. Call us today at 216-421-2775 or visit us online at olyforest.com.
On top of football today, Baldwin Wallace at halftime going to honor football and track standout Kevin Johnson. Remember, we talked last week. He was a 2-time Division III national champ in outdoor track and field in the spring. We're also going to longtime athletic supporter, service member Len Thasho for his many years of service to this institution in the football press box and timing booth. So I think those two gentlemen are real happy with what they've seen so far from the start from Baldwin Wallace.
I would certainly like to think so. BW kickoff, left to right. And this time the kick kind of wails over to the left-hand side. Not a particularly good one, and as it goes out of bounds, it will be a good start to the drive for the Polar Bears. They'll get it on their own 35.
Now, lest anybody watching this at home, mobile devices, on your iPad, wherever, lest you think this game is over. Last week, the Polar Bears were down 17-0 to Washington out of Missouri, then rattled off 31 straight. So this is an offense that can strike and strike quickly. So this is a position that, unfortunately, for this program, they're used to. So they're not going to succumb to the pressure here early on.
Both teams went 6-4 last season, with 5-4 records in the OAC. This is the opening game in the conference. Two schools that are pretty similar in terms of styles of play, very physical teams. This time a screen to the left-hand side, an incomplete pass. That was the first one of the day thrown to Devin Price. And certainly that's the kind of guy, when you're down 14 points, you've got to get the ball in his hands.
Boy, it's nice to see Dan O'Brien, who had a huge game last week, the BW linebacker. He snuffed that out. He saw that play coming, and I think the receiver looked up and saw O'Brien in front of him, and he took his eyes off the ball.
2nd and 10 from the 35. Engel with a shotgun look as he moves the running back Magazine to his right. Now back to the left-hand side. Price again in motion. They've handed it to him a couple times in last week's game, but a better read there up front. Maybe a 1-yard gain as John McElfresh, the sophomore linebacker from Bradenton, Florida, makes the stop.
Yeah, if McElfresh doesn't bust through the line, that's a big gain because the Polar Bears had the blocking scheme that they wanted. So give McElfresh a ton of credit.
So 3rd down and 9 from the 36. BW up 14-0 with 4 minutes to go in the opening quarter. Engel on the move. He's got a target and a first down. Pass is caught on the near side by the tight end Shale Chamberlain, a senior from Antwerp High School.
And that is not an easy pass to make. Rolling out to your left, thrown across your body, hit the big tight end in stride. Very nice play by Patrick Engel.
Just shy of midfield. They'll start with another first down, their first of the drive. Engel gets the ball. He's going to throw it. Looking deep. He's hit as he's thrown. It's caught by Price, who shakes off a immediate hit. And immediately you see why Devin Price is such a weapon, because he sort of kind of prepared his body to absorb that hit.
Price found the perfect hole in the defense. There were 4 Yellow Jackets around him, but he knows time, he knows place, he knew exactly where to get it. Engel threads the needle nicely.
1st and 10 from the 33-yard line. Again, Price is the pre-snap motion man. They're going to throw to Price, a screen play to the right. He's got a couple blockers. Explodes toward that sideline. A tackle made by Austin Cordova, shy of the first down, but a pickup of about 7.5 yards.
You mentioned blocking. Reed Allen, nice downfield blocking. You know, not that you really don't call that pick play anymore. You know, these wide receivers are free to start blocking immediately, and Allen had a nice downfield block.
So the Polar Bears, who won the opening coin toss and chose their defense to go out there first, they need their offense to pick up the defense. Magazine, well, he'll lose a couple yards on that play. We'll see where they officially spot it. It might only be a 1-yard loss. Baldwin Wallace, I mean, already 16 plays for 159 yards offensively through 2 drives, and 2 lengthy drives at that. It's been pretty impressive here early on. 3rd down and, well, we'll call it 3. Ball's on the 26-yard line. High snap, kept by Engel. He is hit in the backfield a 3rd time and finally stopped. And this Yellow Jacket defense is riled up.
Well, as long as BW can contain Magazine in the backfield, that's going to help out their cause. Ohio Northern hasn't really been able to open up their offense as much as they want because Magazine hasn't been able to get started. He only has 4 yards thus far. Remember last week, he had 154.
Well, the Polar Bears are going to go for it. Their kicking game is okay, but not perfect. And this is one of those weird distances where even though you got the win at your back, you don't want to fall behind even further. So they'll try it on 4th and 3 from the 26. With just about 90 seconds left in the first quarter, and Ohio Northern will call a timeout, so maybe they were just lining up in an attempt to try to pull the Yellow Jackets off sides. Good discipline there on both sides. Well, this afternoon's game is the 37th annual Lee Tressel Shrine Classic. This is a game that much like last week's game where Community and Family Day brings out a lot of people. Ohio Northern with a good crowd on hand as well. Baldwin Wallace always among the national leaders in attendance figures, and that's no exception here today.
Fans, today's Yellow Jacket football game brought to you by Domino's Pizza in Berea and throughout the greater Cleveland area. After today's game, call the Berea Domino's at 440-891-0030 or go online at domino's.com.
So again, the Polar Bears are going to go for it. It's 4th and 3 from the 26. We'll see what they do here. A 4-receiver look, an option play. Angle reads it, and the dive on the second effort is enough to move the sticks. He was hit shy of the first down, but then laid out, and you can tell that leadership starting to emerge here on this drive. Angle with a couple of nice completions. He's been patient. There, he was aggressive.
Yeah, that was lined up as an option, but make no mistake about it, that was a quarterback keeper the entire time.
Angle will send Reed Allen out to the left. Devin Price, Matt Craven to the right. Magazine the left sidecar. And Magazine takes the fake handoff. This one looking for Price over the middle. It's a little too high and incomplete.
Oh, if Angle has half a second more to throw, that is a touchdown. My goodness, did Price put a move on the defensive back. He juked right and then went left and was wide open.
Good pressure there from Baldwin Wallace's Luke Riemenschneider, a second-team All-OAC player a year ago. Logan Ray, the tight end on the left-hand side of the formation. In the slot on the right for Baldwin Wallace is Tyler Habany. This an option play as well. Angle again, he'll run. And he's got a gain up to about the 16-yard line, so he picks up about 6.
Shale Chamberlain with some nice blocking from the tight end position to free up Angle for a couple of extra yards right there.
Brings up third down and about 5 yards. They're going to actually... Nope, call 3rd and 4. The yard marker on the far side of the field isn't quite in line with where the football is. So it's 3rd and 4. Got to get to the 12. Polar Bears went 3 and out in their first possession, and the defense has let them down early. They need points here. No questions asked. This will probably be the last play of the first quarter. Angle from the gun. He's got a man open on the left side. It's caught inside the 10 and down toward about the 6. Shale Chamberlain, the senior tight end, will move the sticks inside the 10-yard line, so it's a goal-to-go situation, but the Polar Bears will move to the other end of the field. We are through 1 quarter of play. We've seen 4 total drives, 2 great drives by Baldwin Wallace on offense, and they have built a 14-0 lead, but defensively their backs are against the wall here as we finish up the first quarter. 14-0 Jackets lead it. We'll be back with the second quarter action on BWYellowJackets.com. Back at Finney Stadium as we are ready for the second quarter. Brendan Gulick, Ryan McNaughton with you here on Saturday afternoon. A gorgeous day. Kickoff temperature was about 74 degrees here in Berea. The Polar Bears on their second drive trying to get their first points. They're down 2 scores at 14-0. And on 1st and goal from the 8, they'll get it. A touchdown pass to Shale Chamberlain on the right-hand side. Patrick Angle caps off a nice drive for the Polar Bears. And it's now a 14-6 contest.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mismatch that time, Brendan, where you've got the 6'5" Chamberlain covered by the 5'11" Dan O'Brien from the linebacker position. And Chamberlain, we saw last year when they came here to Berea, he's a very nice offensive weapon. Not too many 6'5", mobile, quick tight ends here in the OAC.
Andrew DeMario on to kick the extra point. And it is good, so a 14-7 contest. Well, this game's shaping up to have a lot of offense. 4 total drives, 3 touchdowns, and all 3 touchdown drives have been 65 yards or longer.
Yeah, these teams don't like getting cheated, Brendan, by any stretch. Taking advantage of this beautiful Northeast Ohio weather. It's a perfect day to open up the offenses, and thus far, these teams have done so. You're looking at Baldwin Wallace, 8 first downs in that first quarter, 2 of 2 on third downs, which is a key that you brought up earlier in this contest because they were abysmal last week at 3 of 13. 104 yards passing through the air, 55 yards on the ground. So BW 2 for 2 thus far on that efficiency factor that I like to talk about. Let's see what happens. I'm not sure what else they have left here in the playbook, Brendan. They have really opened things up through 2 drives.
Well, that has been certainly the biggest adjustment we've seen from last week to this week. A couple of trick plays. They had that beautiful pass from Michael Slack to Kyle Dunn down the left side. We'll see if that good fortune can continue. Matt Cheney on to kick off. Cheney with the right foot. It is a low squib kick. They don't want to kick it deep. It'll be returned from the 25-yard line for Baldwin Wallace. Well, it was returned by number 42, but there is not, I don't believe. Oh, okay, I beg your pardon. Nick Malvasi is wearing number 42.
I got to be honest with you, Brendan. Sometimes, you know how much time these coaches spend in the film room a week. I mean, they sleep, they eat, they breathe in the office. I think sometimes you try to overthink it. I get the squib kick. It's 14-7 in the second quarter. If you're worried about a deep return, BW's got the ball on the 41-yard line. Yeah. Kick the ball away. Allow your defenders to march down the field and give your guys a chance to tackle.
4-receiver look here for Meglin on 1st and 10. He's dodging pressure, steps up. There is a flag down. Dunn has it, and this could go for 6. Down the right sideline, Dunn stretches, and they will give him a touchdown, but will it count? A 59-yard touchdown pass from Tyler Meglin to Kyle Dunn, but a flag down in the backfield, and it is coming back, a hold on BW.
Yeah, immediately the head umpire just kind of did one of these, come on back, fellas, and I'm not sure if it's on Anthony Laudenin, the center, but he was very upset and had a very animated conversation with the umpire.
Well, given the given the melodramatics and the demeanor, I would say that's probably a good bet. 14:37 left in the second quarter. It's 14-7. The Yellow Jackets on top. We'll give you an update from around the Ohio Athletic Conference here momentarily. We'll tell you how some of the other games are going. Motion man here is Kafferer from left to right. Meglin in the shotgun. It's 1st and 20 from the 31. This time a handoff to Reed, trying to pick up some of the yardage they lost on the penalty, and they'll get 4 of it back. The other thing I was thinking, too, the wind is blowing fairly strong from right to left from our perspective, but with this playing field being below street level, you really got to get the ball up in the air for it to be affected by the wind. So,
yeah,
even if that played into his thought, I don't think a high kickoff necessarily would have hurt him.
Yeah, I mean, the flag at the high school across the street's really flying pretty voraciously, but the goalpost flags really aren't that much.
2nd down and 16 from their own 35. Meglin looking. He's got an open man and a catch. Nicely done by Joe Kijauskis, freshman wide receiver from Cleveland. And the completion goes up to about the 43. Tackle on the play defensively. I believe that was made by Dan Eller. So 3rd and 7. Again, looking toward William Bowden this time on the near side. And Bowden tries to just shove the receiver out of bounds. Kijauskis is shy of the 1st down. They're going to put him in his own 48. It brings up 4th down and 3.
And that was not a very good spot. I want to say that catch was made at about the 50, and the linesman put it at the 48. So I think the Jackets had a real poor spot, a very unlucky spot on that possession.
Well, John Snell elects to bring the punting unit out. Back deep to return the punt is Melvin Williams, the dangerous, athletic defensive back for the Polar Bears, who are clearly here looking to try to block a punt. All 10 up on the line of scrimmage. Booted away by Austin Smith. Good punt. It's spiraling down, and a beautiful hit. It is killed right about the 6-yard line. Holy smokes. You saw it going up in the air, kind of spinning around the vertical axis of the ball, and when it hit that 5-yard line, it just stuck.
What did we talk so much about last week, Brendan? How and can Baldwin Wallace replace all of those losses on special teams from a year ago? I think we might be getting some answers thus far through about 5 quarters, through place kicking, kickoffs, and the punt game. So far, so good for BW on special teams.
Elsewhere in the OAC, the Mount Union Purple Raiders, the nation's third-ranked team, lead Muskingum 21-0 with 2.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. And a good ball game. The game of the week in the OAC is being played on the other side of Cleveland. John Carroll, the 10th-ranked team in the country, and the Heidelberg Student Princes, the 16th-ranked team in the country. It's a 3-0 lead right now for John Carroll. I beg your pardon, a 10-0 lead. That game is early in the second quarter. The Blue Streaks last year met toward the end of the season. It was the second last game of the regular season, so this year, with 3 ranked teams in the conference, 2 of them meeting early on. Heidelberg and Mount Union, John Carroll and Mount Union. Those other 2 games will be played later in the season. Right up the gut goes Patrick Engel, and he goes all the way from the 16 with a flag thrown on the far side of the field. You wonder if that could be sideline interference. Looks like he was tackled at about the 43. So a good 27-yard pickup, but they may lose some of that.
Boy, and earlier we spoke about Angle, how he's a dual threat, 75 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns from the quarterback position last week in the victory against Washington. And excellent up-front blocking. A little pull by the guard really sprung Angle.
Here's the call. It is sideline interference on Ohio Northern.
Boy,
so
as a coach, Brendan, frustrating might not be the adjective, but the right one that we can use in a broadcast. That's something that I tell you what, those coaching staff is going to really lay into some folks with that call.
Just under 12 minutes left in the first half. 14-7, the Polar Bears trying to tie the game with a score on this drive. Angle hit just after he let it go, and it's just out of the reach of Devin Price on the home run pass.
That's 2 times early on that we have seen Angle try to find Price big, and he needed another half second to hold on to the ball. The first time in the first quarter was when Price made that incredible move in the end zone where he was wide open on a seam route, and now this play. So give BW's defensive line a little credit for getting to Angle in the nick of time.
2nd and 10 from their own 38. Angle trying to orchestrate a game-tying drive here, and he's got a first down on a completion of about 12 yards to midfield. That one caught over the middle nicely by Reed Allen. Allen had 2 catches for 53 yards a week ago. A sophomore from Anthony Wayne High School and is in White House, Ohio. So just onto the BW side of the midfield stripe. The Polar Bears 1st and 10 play. It's a completion to Matt Craven and a pickup of about 4.5 yards.
Pretty entertaining football so far, huh?
Not
a boring moment.
For the first 2 drives where BW came out guns blazing and Ohio Northern was caught a little bit on their heels, now all of a sudden the Polar Bears are kind of shifting back the other direction. Fake handoff and a throw to the near side, and finally an incompletion. I feel like we haven't said that all day. Nelson Candelario on the coverage as Craven couldn't haul it in. Brings up 3rd down and 6.
You know, the play before they went to Candelario on the other side of the field, same type of play, and his coverage was just as good on that first down as it was on that play. So Candelario's having a nice start. Just Angle has been about as perfect as you can be with his accuracy.
Tony Davis is the junior running back. Angle hit again as he's thrown, and he overshoots Shale Chamberlain.
Give credit to Dan O'Brien, the linebacker. Angle's looking for Price on the left side. O'Brien had excellent coverage. He had to pump fake, and then he was trying to find an open receiver and wasn't able to do so. So O'Brien with a nice job helping to create 4th down.
Angle is 7 for 12 for 72 yards. Again, the comment I made about not really throwing incomplete passes, well, it's because Meglin's a perfect 7 for 7 for 83 yards, and Michael Slack has that 34-yard pass. So BW has yet to throw an incompletion. 4th down and 6. Here's an Ohio Northern punt, kicked away by Kyle Bergman. And it's going to bounce and take a very friendly polar bear roll all the way down inside what looks to be down to the 1. My goodness. Well done, Kyle Bergman. He puts BW with their backs against their own end zone.
That is one of those that on a stat sheet, it's going to look great. You saw that kick with your eyes. It was ugly. But they get the friendly turf bounce, and now the Yellow Jackets have 99 yards to go to pay dirt.
Well, just again, to keep in mind how long the drives have gone today, BW had a 9-play, 83-yard drive that ended in a touchdown run, a 7-play, 76-yard touchdown drive that ended in an 11-yard touchdown run, and Ohio Northern went 12 plays, 65 yards. So all 3 TD drives in this one have been lengthy. Some movement in the backfield. They'll hand it to Isaac Reed, and he bullies his way up to about the 3-yard line, maybe a pickup of 1. 2nd and 9, 10:40 and counting left in the first half of play. Baldwin Wallace with a 14-7 lead. They scored on their first 2 offensive possessions. Last time out, not quite as good, but we'll see if they can get out from their own end zone and then maybe open that playbook back up again. From under center, Meglin looking around. And again, another handoff. This one to the left-hand side. Up to about the 5-yard line. I don't think that was Reed. Waiting to see who it is that pops up. Yeah, it was Isaac Reed. Okay. Well, again, we made mention of it last week. Reed is not a big fella. 5'8", 165, but he runs like a 5'8", 265-pound running back. Just physical and doesn't mind going between the tackles. Does not shy away from contact.
You know, it's one of those cliches where you say you can't measure heart, the size of heart. He's one of those players. He plays bigger than he is.
3rd and 5 from the 6. Meglin with multiple targets. He's looking left, and the ball is batted at the line of scrimmage, incomplete. Nicely done up front by Matt Brewer, the nose tackle who went up and got his paw on it. Mike Cunningham was also applying pressure. So the Polar Bears in a dangerous spot here. They will go back deep to return a punt. Melvin Williams will be the returner. And Austin Smith, who had a brilliant punt of his own last time, he will punt from 6 or 7 yards deep in his own end zone. Williams is still standing on the BW side of the field.
And Meglin has his first incomplete pass of the afternoon.
How about that? 9:26 left in the half. This is a high punt. Pretty good. Williams backs up a couple yards. He's got it from his own 48. Riemenschneider chasing him. A couple of big blocks on the far side. And a 22-yard return for Melvin Williams. And you can see those couple blocks may have sprung the Polar Bears back into life. Again, Ryan mentioned it early on. This Ohio Northern team last weekend was down 17-0 early in the game and just refused to give in. And they ended up coming back and beating a good team. It was not a team that, you know, you think, okay, well, we'll just start the season 1-0 by scheduling a cupcake. No, they went out and played a team in Wash U that went to the playoffs last year. They showed a lot of heart in that ball game and came back and won. They were down 14-0 in this one. And again, with a touchdown here, could tie the game with 9:12 left in the second quarter. It's 14-7 Jackets. First and 10 from the 30. Angle tries to do it on one play, and Devin Price has done it. Wow. 22-yard punt return and a 30-yard touchdown pass on back-to-back plays. And just like that, the Jackets and Polar Bears are just about tied.
Brendan, that's the same play they tried to run in the first quarter on the other side of the field when Angle needed that extra half second. Beautiful protection up front by his offensive line. Angle had all the time in the world, and if you give that much time to Angle and Price, that's what's going to happen. And that play is going to be there all day long if the front seven, the front six for BW can't get any pressure.
20 seconds to score on that 30-yard play. And the PAT is good, so we are tied at 14. Actually, it was less than that because it was 9:26 on the clock for the punt. So 2 plays, 20 seconds tick off, a big punt return, and a big touchdown pass. Angle with his second touchdown pass of the day. Remember, the first one went earlier in the ballgame to the tight end, Shale Chamberlain. So back to even at 14-14 with 9:06 left in the second quarter. Today's game brought to you by the Oriole Cafe, a great place for sports, located at 294 North Rocky River Drive here in Berea, just 2 minutes from campus. The Oriole Cafe is the right choice before and after the game. Today's game also brought to you by Integrity Realty Corporation. They've got 5 locations to choose from in the Berea area, including 2 very close to campus. Give them a call at 440-826-1812 or go see them online at mybereaapartment.com.
Well, we've seen several haymakers early on in this contest, Brendan.
That's a good way to say it.
This, as the great Jim Ross would say, this is a slobber knocker in Berea, Ohio this afternoon.
Here's the kick, and another low one, a loose ball for just a brief moment. The Polar Bears tried to maybe catch Mike Wagoner napping a little bit. Wagoner out of purely reactionary, I guess if you want to call them. Actually, you know what? That wasn't Wagoner. That was the junior defensive end, Jake Maurer.
That's a second straight kick, Brendan. I'm not sure what Ohio Northern's doing. Baldwin Wallace is at midfield right now. You cannot fear the return game that much, especially when you've seen what your offense can do. Midfield to start after that drive. I think folks are going to be asking questions in the Polar Bear locker room at halftime.
That is definitely a head-scratcher. First and 10, a keeper. Meglin with a little room. Almost shook William Bowden away, but instead just a 9-yard gain. Well, I think the other thing you're seeing here, with the exception, and we talked, unfortunately we didn't get the interview to actually air. We had some technical issues early on. But we talked to John Snell this week about what he saw from Patrick Angle that made him a good dual-threat quarterback. And I think, with the exception of Kevin Burke from Mount Union, the other guy that you'd really want to throw in that mix is Tyler Meglin. He uses his feet very well. The Jackets go trips bunch to the right, and they send Michael Slack out wide to the left. This time the handoff goes up the middle to Austin Smith, who got smacked at the 37. Smith, who also takes care of the punting for Baldwin Wallace, had a couple of carries last week. A young running back, freshman from Broadview Heights, and he moves the sticks for the first down.
Now Smith with excellent awareness right there, Brendan, where his spin move right past the line of scrimmage not only got the first down, but gave him an extra 4 yards on that carry.
Dunn slot right, Wagoner wide right, and Slack on the bottom side of your screen goes out to the left. Kapvers, the tight end. The running back still Austin Smith. Tyler Meglin from the gun moves Smith to his left. On first and 10 from the 37. Tie game with just under 8 minutes left in the first half. Polar Bears with a 4-3 defensive look here. And now a timeout called just before the play clock hits 0. Second charge timeout to the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets here in the first half. Actually, that's the second timeout of the half. I had to think for a second. Ohio Northern had the first one, so just BW's first timeout of the half. By the way, another update from University Heights. Number 10, John Carroll, now leads number 16, Heidelberg, 17-0 in not only the game of the week in the OAC, but one of a couple games across the country in Division III this week that pit top teams in the nation against each other. There's another one, I believe, in Wisconsin. I'll look that up real quick. I believe the number 5 and number 7 teams in the country are also playing each other this week.
But how about the OAC, where you have 3 teams ranked in the top 25? Ohio Northern even got a vote in the top 25 poll this past week. So nationwide, there is a ton of respect for this conference.
UW-Platteville is playing North Central tonight. That's that 5-7 matchup. 28 now, nothing now, by the way, Mount Union on top of Muskingum early second quarter. First and 10, Meglin, mobile, floats over the middle. Slack makes an athletic catch, and he scores! Touchdown Jackets from 37 yards out, and nobody more jazzed up than the guy who threw it, Tyler Meglin.
I'm going to tell you who made that play. You might not be surprised. Who did I talk about a lot last week? Sean Hemlick, the senior left tackle for Baldwin Wallace, with tremendous blocking on the outside rush, gave the quarterback just enough time to get that pass off.
20-14, looking for the extra point. Joe Simonis on to kick it. Snap is back, the ball is down, the kick is on its way, and good. Nearly blocked by Melvin Williams. But nonetheless, a 21-14 lead and another lengthy and quick touchdown strike.
And here again is where I'm going to question the decision from Ohio Northern to squib that kick. You cut the field in half. BW only had to go 50 yards instead of maybe 70 or 80 if you kick it away. I've never been a big fan, Brendan, of playing the what-if game. Not only in athletics, but life. You can't be a what-iffer. Kick the ball away. What if he runs it back? Well, guess what? What if he doesn't?
Well,
now you're giving your defense more room to operate.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, they won the opening toss and chose to defer, and there's a lot of different logic that goes into that. Some would say, hey, I would rather have the lead in the first half and be able to go out there first in the second half. Or if I'm trailing at halftime, then I've got the ball first to try to make up some ground in the second half. So plenty of reason why you would choose to defer. But if you have that much faith in your defense to go out there early on, why not kick it deep? I totally agree with you. That one is, considering they've done it more than once now, it certainly has been intentional, unless both kickers have just mishit on both times. I guess that is a possibility. 7:34 left in the second quarter. Jackets lead at 21-14. This will be the dangerous Devin Price from the 4. Price has some room and is finally wrapped up at the 30. Twice last week, Devin Price was named, last year, was named the OAC's Player of the Week. He was first team All-OAC and first team All-Central Region as a returner, second team All-Conference as a receiver. So that might be one of the more explosive, I would say playmakers in the conference in general.
And you look at where he ranks in school history. 6th all-time in receptions, 7th all-time in receiving yards, and 5th all-time in kickoff return yardage. So this is a guy who, when his career is over, is going to be he's going to be on a lot of pages in the Polar Bear programs on home afternoons.
Polar Bears go back to work from their own 30, down a score. Pump fake to the right, Angle rolls left and dumps it off. The tight end Chamberlain has it up to the 34. For a pickup of 4 yards. Ohio Northern, this is a program that has had a lot of success. They were last in the playoffs in 2010, I believe. I'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure it was 2010. Coming off a 6-4 campaign a year ago, and they haven't had quite the same success since they were in the playoffs that season. It was 2010. This time, Angle wrapped up in the backfield. The 4 yards they had just picked up, they lost. Tom Iverson with the sack.
Boy, that's one of those plays, Brendan. Boy, Patrick Angle, if he hands the ball off instead of keeps it, if he makes the right read, there was a big hole. But Angle decided he thought he saw something. I tell you who he didn't see. The guy who tackled him.
Well, technically that won't be a sack since it was the read option. So still no sacks on the season for the Yellow Jackets. Under 6.5 to play in the second quarter. 3rd and 9 from the 31. 4-receiver look for the Polar Bears. They spread it out from the gun. Angle looking to the right, throws a long ball deep, and an incomplete pass. Matt Craven is begging for a defensive hold or pass interference, but I think the official would say, well, while that may have been the case, the ball probably wasn't catchable.
Yeah, Kevin Krakoa did get away with a little bit of a grab on the arm, and I'm not sure he needed to. So Krakoa gets away with one, and a nice stop there for the Jackets.
I mentioned that Ohio Northern, since they've been in the playoffs, haven't been quite as strong. They have not won more than 6 games in a season since 2010, but coming off a 6-4 campaign. And the schedule for the Polar Bears at the beginning of the year is just brutal. This one to be punted away, a ball that just hangs in the wind and takes a friendly BW bounce. It's down at the 45. At the start of the season, so we've mentioned they opened up with Washington University. They played BW, Heidelberg, John Carroll, and Mount Union the next 4 weeks. Well, the next 3 weeks after this week. I mean, it's.
Do they get the Denver Broncos in Week 5 after that too?
If they can get through the beginning of this schedule, they could set themselves up to have a pretty nice season because the bottom half of the OAC this year isn't quite as strong. Capital's not a bad team. And how about this? Did you see what the Capital Crusaders did last week? They put up 735 yards of total offense, a school record against Earlham.
They've gone months without putting up that many yards.
Here's a reverse play. The handoff goes to Brendan Lynch, and Lynch is taken out of bounds after picking up just a couple. Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's a Capital team that just really hasn't been all that good the last few years. They are under a now second-year head coach and maybe starting to figure things out a little bit. Second down, they'll call it 7. They said Lynch got all the way up to the 48.
BW thus far as a team, 154 yards through the air and 80 on the ground. So some pretty nice balance early on for the Yellow Jackets.
Meglin with 3 wide receivers. The tailback is Austin Smith, so we haven't seen Isaac Reed here for a little bit. Smith takes a handoff left side. Got a good block. Cuts back in. Look at him go. He spins all the way down, and I think he's got the first down. 7-yard run from Austin Smith. Nicely done. Boy, he's a pleasant change of pace.
Boy, he sure is. And anytime you can kind of a 1-2 punch, which we've seen the past several years where the Jackets are able to get kind of a speedy back and then kind of a bigger back. We haven't seen as much of Nolan Sortel through the first couple of games as we had in previous years, where you've got the guy who's kind of more of the bruiser, who can go between the tackles, and then you got a guy like Reed who you can spread out and do some varied types of play calling with.
I don't think we've seen Corey Pedret today either, the senior, who
we have not.
Is a big guy and definitely can run hard between the tackles. 1st and 10 from the 44. Good block there. Meglin just throws it away, and Austin Smith got absolutely smoked by Matt Brewer in the backfield.
Yeah, Smith took a big one for the team right there. Did a nice job of picking up the blitz, but the Polar Bears had enough pressure, and Meglin doing the very wise thing. Meglin now 8 of 10 on the day for $120 through the air.
Stephen Kenny, A.J. Simpson go up front with now Jake Crowley, the defensive tackle who just checked in. On 2nd and 10 from the 44. Meglin from the pistol. 4-3 look. Cody Cox maybe showing blitz from the left side. He comes in as the handoff goes to Smith, and Smith is wrapped up. Trent Stout, the linebacker, to finish him off. Got a little help as well from Austin Hostetler. Hostetler, kind of a journeyman, senior from Strasburg, Ohio. This is really the first meaningful playing time he has received in his career, but a guy that, they've relied on in the program. He's come up, played a little bit of JV ball, and has been part of it.
Those are the guys on this level you need to have. Most guys who play on this level, they know they're not going to the next level. They'll grind it out. They'll play on the practice squad. They'll play JV ball because they just want their chance. Because when they get here, they're passionate and they make the most of it.
On 3rd and 10. Meglin looking for slack, now rolls to the right. He's got a completion and a first down. Mike Wagner with the 11-yard catch. That's good enough to move the sticks on 3rd and 10.
Good to see Wagner's name get called. He had a big game last week against Bluffton, 5 catches for 76 yards, and he did a nice job that time in coming back to the pass. And that's something you don't see a lot of receivers do. If they come back to the ball, you're going to catch it most times. Had he stayed still, that would have given the defensive back enough time to perhaps break it up.
Another update from University Heights. John Carroll now leads Heidelberg 17-7. Mark Myers, the quarterback for the Blue Streaks, who did not play in Week 1 with a left hand injury, had an interception returned 100 yards for a touchdown against him.
Ugh.
So there's Heidelberg's first score of the day as Austin Smith kind of shimmies his way forward before being tackled there from behind by A.J. Simpson. We have just 3 minutes left in the first half. Baldwin Wallace with a 21-14 lead. Darrell Jones comes out. Kyle Dunn checks back in.
And something to think about, Brendan, because the Polar Bears will get the ball in the second half. It's warm outside. A nice sustained drive here for BW's, keeping their defense off the field. You give them enough rest going into half plus halftime, those legs are going to be much fresher that first drive of half number 2.
Ohio Northern will get that ball first, no doubt. From the gun, Meglin looking around. He fakes the handoff. Looking deep, now instead tucks it and runs. A first down and more, out of bounds at the 18. A 10-yard run for Tyler Meglin, who has been, well, equally as good for sure, maybe even better today with his legs than his arm.
Very heads-up play by Meglin. He was looking for Dunn and Wagner down the field. The coverage was there, and he made a quick decision. Grab on and run. Very smart decision by Meglin.
Meglin's only incompletion of the first half was the third down ball batted at the line of scrimmage back on the drive that BW had to punt from their own end zone. 1st and 10 from the 18. Again, the Jackets in the red zone. Meglin goes under center in the 2 tight end set. Austin Smith in the backfield with Wagner and Slack, the wideouts. 4 down linemen, and the Jackets need to burn a timeout. The play clock was all the way down to 1. I can't stress it enough. This team for Baldwin Wallace today, and again, not that they didn't look good last week, this team today looks 10 times better. Whatever they did this week worked.
You're seeing consistent play for the most part, especially from the offense. You knew you weren't going to contain the Polar Bears defensively, but they've stood up strong when they needed to. You haven't seen those long gaps of consistency that you saw last week against Bluffton, and I'm sure the coaching staff and especially Coach Snell said, listen, fellas, we can't play 12 minutes at a time or 8 minutes at a time and let your guard down. So it is refreshing to see this team come out, and they came out at the starting gun, and they've kept the pedal to the metal.
Well, I'm not sure if the stats are updated here online because it says on these that Austin Smith has just 1 carry for 4 yards, and I think at this point he's got at least 6 or 7. But as of that posting, 4 carries for 42 yards for Meglin, also 8 of 9 for 120. Those numbers, I believe, are better than what I just said up to date. So certainly a good afternoon for the junior from Canton. Meglin on a read play, keeps it, and maybe would have been better off that time handing it off. He loses 2 yards. It'll be 2nd and 12. Not too many negative plays today for Baldwin Wallace offensively.
Jason Hunley, the defensive end, able to blow that up as there's a missed-blocking assignment on the right side of the offensive line. Jackets
trying to use as much clock as they can, along with trying to put it in the end zone. There's just 1:20 left in the first half. They lead it 21-14. This is 2nd and 12 from their own 20. BW has 1 timeout left. Polar Bears still have 2. Meglin again goes under center. This time he gives it. Austin Smith up near the 16. Well, last week we saw 3 field goals from Joe Simonis. They were all very short. In fact, all of them were less than 30 yards, if I remember correctly.
And they might have a decision to make. Certainly within range, but with the wind at your back. But the way the offense is playing, do you want to take the ball out of Meglin's hands?
Yeah, you might want to push it. We'll see if that even comes into play. It's 3rd down and 7. 35 seconds left in the first half. Meglin looks around, takes the snap, fakes the handoff. Looking left side for Kyle Dunn. He's got it! Touchdown! The Jackets convert on a 16-yard touchdown pass, and Tyler Meglin's brilliant first half continues.
Well, give Dunn a lot of credit. He spun Malcolm Burrell around like a pretzel on that route. He made a cut inside, made a curl route on the outside, and Burrell was spinning like a dreidel by the end of that play. Just a great route. Tremendous route ran.
Joe Simonis on for the extra point. Just 19 ticks left before the intermission, and the kick is up and good. It's been a very impressive first half for Baldwin Wallace. They have a commanding 27-14 lead. They were up 14-0, then gave up 2 scores. Now have responded with 2 touchdowns of their own. And the Polar Bears, and again, keep this in mind too, Baldwin Wallace, who just scored off to our left, they're going to kick with the wind at their back. And you might wonder what they try to do because you've got Devin Price, a very dangerous returner back deep. Don't be surprised here if you see Joe Simonis with a little squibber. But again, we've seen the Polar Bear offense quick strike a couple times.
Here you can make the argument for kicking it to an up back or squibbing it or kicking it out of bounds as opposed to what we've seen a couple of times here in the first half from the Polar Bears.
Yeah, I don't expect to see this kick go deep. And if it does, then, power to them, but I think you're playing with fire at that point. So 28-14, the Jackets on top with 19 seconds left on the first half clock. Melvin Williams also back deep with Devin Price. Simonis on to kick it off. He tees it up from the 35. And it is a low squib kick. It goes to the 35. And a nicely done job. I like the way that the Polar Bears kind of designed that formation. They had Malcolm Burrell, the senior linebacker, standing on the 30. And he basically expected the ball to come right to him. He just went up to the 39-yard line and went down. Only killed 3 seconds, and they've got pretty good field position to maybe take a couple shots with 2 timeouts.
Well, it appears Burrell is no longer dizzy from the moves that Dunn put on him on that touchdown pass. So good to see him bounce back. Really was a heck of a route. I was fixed on Dunn, and he made 2 cuts that were as good as I have seen thus far early in the season.
4 receivers for Engel. The running back behind him is Justin Magazine. Magazine takes the handoff, and that looks like that will end the first half. So the Polar Bears seem content to just run it up the gut, a pickup of 3 yards. And with now just 4 seconds left, that'll do it. What a start by Baldwin Wallace. Last week they led 19-0 at the break. We thought the offense looked pretty good. Well, how about today? 4 touchdown drives in the first half. All of them 50 yards or more. And they've done it both on the ground and through the air. Tyler Meglin, 6 carries for 52 yards. He's 10 of 12 for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. Michael Slack, who also has thrown a 34-yard pass, has 3 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Dunn, 3 catches for 60 yards and a score. Balance, they've looked great all the way around, Ryan, and I think the Polar Bears have to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit because they've only had a small amount of success.
Yeah, and for Ohio Northern to be successful, they need to run the football. They only have 46 yards on the ground. I think, to me, that's been the turning point for Baldwin Wallace. They have kept both the quarterback and the running back in check on the ground.
Not only that, but Patrick Engel has 40 of those. They have gotten a total of 6 yards on 5 carries from Tony Davis and Justin Magazine. Well, before we send it to a break, we wanted to, again, make mention of the fact that there is a quick presentation going on here. Being honored at halftime by the Yellow Jackets are a couple of people that are pretty special here to this university. One of them, Kevin Johnson, who was a player here, and an excellent special teams player and defensive back for the Yellow Jackets a year ago. He went out last spring after his All-OAC football season, and he won the national championship in both the 100-meter and 200-meter dash at the Division III level. So a huge congratulations to Kevin Johnson, the former St. Ignatius Wildcat, who picked up 2 individual national championships this past year. And also being honored, longtime press box timer Len Theso, who retired from active duty after last season, a 32 years of service committed from him to this university. Thank you very much to him as well. Timeout on BWYellowJackets.com. The clock on the scoreboard right now reads about 18:20. We'll come back here before the second half gets underway and give you some keys to the second half. It's Baldwin Wallace 28 and the Ohio Northern Polar Bears 14 on BWYellowJackets.com. Back on BWYellowJackets.com. Brendan Gulick, Ryan McNaughton along with you. It is 28-14. The Jackets ahead of the Ohio Northern Polar Bears as we are just about to kick off the second half. And the scoring has been streaky. 14 points for BW right off the bat. 2 straight offensive drives. Both were lengthy and a couple of good plays. Then they gave up 14 points in a row after the offense kind of stalled. Game was tied until the last couple possessions of the first half, Ryan, when Baldwin Wallace sort of hit their rhythm again. But they're going to have to play defense here to start half number 2.
Yeah, no real surprise. We knew Ohio Northern was going to bounce back, especially with what they did last week, rifling off 31 straight points. So by no stretch is this game over. I think it's a big series of downs for the Baldwin Wallace defense. If they can get off the field quickly and get the ball back into Tyler Megalin's hands, that could help determine the shape of where the second half goes.
Well, Price and Melvin Williams will go back deep to return the kick. This kick will go into the wind from Joe Simonis. Ready to go for the second half. Simonis looks either way. And here we go. Looking the direction of Price. That is a dangerous threat. From the 19. Price up the middle. Uh-oh, here he goes. 45, and the kicker tackles him. Joe Simonis pretty jazzed up. He stopped him at the 44-yard line. Devin Price probably frustrated with himself. You can kind of see it, looking for his second career kick return for touchdown, and for maybe just that split second, he might have thought he had it.
Listen, as somebody who was not exactly born with the gift of speed, but have friends who played football, there is no worse feeling when it's down to you and one person in the end zone, and that one guy's the kicker who gets you. So he'll replay that over and over. Should I have gone left? Should I have gone right? Should I just ran right through him?
Well, we'll see how it goes here. Price is in the slot on the right. Patrick Engel, the quarterback, the transfer from Youngstown State, looks to the right. Matt Craven picks up about 5 yards on the completion. Second down and 5, just inside the Baldwin Wallace 40.
10th completion of the day for Engel. Started off the half 9 of 15 for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Also 40 yards on the ground for Patrick Engel.
Engel claps his hands and hands it to Devin Price. Price uses that speed to get to the outside, and he's got a first down. There was some barking on the near sideline wanting a hold, but no flag thrown.
Yeah, Magazine, the running back, got out on Dan O'Brien. Looked to be a pretty good block from up here. And listen, Magazine has had trouble generating offense with his feet. If he can generate some offense, getting some downfield blocking, that's something Ohio Northern will take the rest of this day.
Senior Tyler Habany from Cuyahoga Falls. That's a Cleveland suburb. He checks in. Price off the field. 1st and 10 from the 32 with a 4-receiver look. Engel throws, and it's caught by Craven. Not a particularly good pass, kind of thrown behind him. 2nd down and 4. He was stopped there at the 26-yard line. Price quickly comes back into the ball game, so they get that threat back out there. Hey, this receiving core for Ohio Northern is nothing to snuff at. Between Price, Reed Allen, and Matt Craven, you've got 3 legitimate targets and a quarterback who's got a pretty strong arm. We've seen him complete some longer passes already. Here's Price in a short yardage scenario and still makes some positive momentum out of it. Up near the first down, I think he'll have that. Should be a 4-yard pickup.
Well, and early on here in the second half, it appears as if Ohio Northern's saying, you know what? Yeah, we're struggling running the football. Air it out.
Yeah.
Air it out. Let's see if they can stop us.
Yeah, and we'll throw some short passes in there and mix it in with some medium length and some long passes.
And perhaps that might eventually open up the run game.
No doubt. Magazine is the running back. Price motions. They hand it to him. No, they don't. Engel keeps it this time. Tom Iverson got him first and got a little help to finish him off. No gain. 2nd and 10, just 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the second half. BW leads at 28-14. How about this score from elsewhere in the conference? Mount Union and Muskingum, they've gone to halftime. It is 45-0.
Oof.
That is an ugly game in Muskingum. Magazine moves to the right. Now does Chamberlain. Fake the screen to the right and then overthrew it to the left. Kind of like that play design, had everybody thinking one way, and then all of a sudden you might find somebody open on the backside. That's kind of a nice little play the Polar Bears tried to run, but unfortunately Engel too much on it.
I think even that if that pass was completed, Lawrence Wolf had snuffed that out pretty well for Baldwin Wallace.
So it's 3rd and 10. The ball is on the 22-yard line. 3 receivers to the right. Reed Allen in single coverage on the bottom of your screen. Engel rolling to the right. And he's got Chamberlain for a first down. BW with fairly soft coverage on that side of the field. And it was a pretty easy completion to move the sticks.
Again, Chamberlain provides such a great third down safety net. Chamberlain was not the first option. Engel was able to see something in the defense, found them first down. So nice read there by Engel.
1st and goal from the 8. The Polar Bears trying to cut this 14-point deficit in half on the opening drive of the second half. This time a handoff to Justin Magazine. It might be the first running play of the whole drive. It picks up maybe a yard. Brings up 2nd and goal from between the 7 and 8 yard lines.
Justin Magazine, a career-high 154 yards a week ago for Ohio Northern. 6 yards today.
28 carries for that $154 last week. Started the final 6 games as the running back after William Bowden went over to the defensive side of the ball. Magazine earned 2nd team all-conference honors. Screen to the left, and Price can't come up with it. So an incomplete pass brings up 3rd and goal. I'd be interested to see what the Polar Bears would do here if they got to a 4th down situation. Depending on how close they were, I might be inclined to go for it.
I would be inclined to absolutely agree with you.
Well, we'll see if that comes to be. BW is trying to get everything set up in the back of their defense. Devontae Greer, the senior free safety, trying to help direct traffic. It's 3rd and goal from the 8. 3 targets to the left. Greer is playing right over center at safety. To the right-hand side, a jump ball for Price, and he cannot come up with an incomplete pass. Nelson Candelario on the coverage. It's 4th and goal from the 8 yard line.
That play was executed beautifully from both sides. Nice pass, nice route, great defense by Candelario. He's having a nice day on the outside for Baldwin Wallace.
Well, he pretty much threw that ball where only his receiver was going to have a shot to really bring it down. But unfortunately for the Polar Bears, that couldn't happen. So, 11:09 left in the 3rd quarter, and Andrew DeMario is on to attempt what will be a 25-yard field goal. Snap is back, the ball is down, and the kick is good. Well, Polar Bears get points on their first offensive possession. It wasn't exactly what they wanted, but considering they started from a 44-yard line or whatever it was, to not get points would have been devastating. And BW can feel a little bit relieved. They almost feel like you win that series. Okay, only gave up a field goal. Still up 11 points. Now let's go back and try to add to it.
Yeah, so as much as we talked about that being an important drive for the defense, equally important for the offense. Ohio Northern now has that momentum back coming out of the locker room. You like to see a sustained drive. Of course you want to see some points, but if the Jackets can take some time off the clock, keep their defense off the field, because guess what? Ohio Northern's still down 2 scores. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to stay aggressive offensively, so that defense is going to need to be as rested as possible as this half continues.
A couple of other scores from the conference today. Capital is hosting Wilmington. That's a 21-14 lead for the Capital Crusaders at halftime. And Otterbein leads Marietta 7-0 with just under a minute left in the first half. DeMario just drilled that 25-yarder. So he heads back to the sideline and gives way to Matt Cheney. Cheney, the junior kicker from Bryan, Ohio. More of a stronger leg, where DeMario's a little more accurate. Cheney with a good kick. This one is sent deep. It's Brendan Lynch from inside his own end zone, and he will just take a knee. Well, with the way he really got into that, that makes me feel earlier in the game like the short kicks may have been intentional, because it would be really hard for him to miss twice in a row after watching the way he booted that one all the way into the end zone. So now I think that maybe that clears up a little bit of confusion from the first half.
I will say I went down to field level during halftime a little bit. You can feel the wind a little more down there than I think we were thinking in the first half from up here in the comfy confines.
Patrick Engel, 13 of 22 for $135. Tyler Meglin, who takes the field for the first time this half, 10 of 12 for 147 through the air. Isaac Reed has the rock to the left-hand side, and he's got room to run from the 25 up to the 45, a 20-yard carry.
We saw it in Week 1. We're seeing it in Week 2. The combination of Hemlick and Kurtz on the left side of the line, freeing up an awful lot of room for Reed. Reed has struggled to find those gaps when they try to run off tackle on the right-hand side.
10:47 left in the third quarter. Baldwin Wallace leads Ohio Northern 28-17. Dunn and Wagoner to the right. It's Michael Slack wide to the left. Tight end is Tony Kapferer, and Isaac Reed the tailback. Meglin fakes the handoff and throws a screen to Slack, and he dropped it. Right in the hands, and Michael Slack couldn't squeeze it. So an incomplete pass.
Kapferer did a nice job of pretty much pancaking Melvin Williams to free up Slack on that play. Slack just needs to bring that in, because that could have been some decent-sized yardage.
Quinn Thompson checks in. Where's number 80? He's listed as a wide receiver, but he's lined up here more as a tight end. This might be the first time I can remember seeing BW line up in an I formation all year.
I agree with you. This is brand new.
2nd and 10. It's a stretch handoff to Reed, going to the left, and the Polar Bears met him quickly. Dylan Quiet, the second-team All-Conference linebacker from a year ago, made 111 tackles in 2013, a 3-year starter. Today his 31st career start, definitely the leader of that defense. He comes up with the tackle. They will actually say no gain instead of a 1-yard loss. So now it's 3rd and 10 from the 45. And a much more familiar look here for this offense, spreading everything out again. They quickly snap the ball. Meglin, good protection, only a 3-man rush, and he guns it shy of his receiver. That's Kyle Dunn at the 40. So the 20-yard burst from Isaac Reed that maybe had you feeling like, okay, this drive could potentially get going, quickly stalls thereafter.
Well, give the Polar Bears credit, as you said, only a 3-man rush that time, and the defensive back's able to do the job.
On to punt, Austin Smith. Remember last week we saw Bluffton run a fake punt, and I only say that because Austin Smith has carried the ball a few times today. He is a running back and a good one, but this time he boots it away down the left sideline, and look at that ball bounce. Williams picks it up at the 15, and he is smothered there. The ball hit near the sideline and almost undoubtedly was going to bounce out of bounds, and then it just rolled straight up the sideline. So Austin Smith with a good punt, and BW will go back to work defensively with the Polar Bears fairly deep in their own territory.
So on comes the Jacket defense, leading the way Luke Riemenschneider. He has 2 tackles on the day. Dan O'Brien, who's been very effective with 5 tackles. Krakoa and Cordova, each with 4 tackles apiece. So spreading the wealth defensively thus far for BW.
Chamberlain, 5 catches for 47 and a score. Price, 4 catches for 60 yards and a score. Those are the 2 leading receivers for Ohio Northern today. Patrick Engel is 13 of 22. 2 touchdowns, no picks, 135 yards. And he's going to air it out here on 1st and 10, but he's hit first. A sack from Tyler Burdoff. The junior from Painesville gets to him, and that's the first sack of the season for the BW defense.
Jackets loaded up the left side defensively on the corners, actually brought a safety over. Dan O'Brien dropped back as a linebacker, and Engel just couldn't find anything, so wisely brought it down and took a 2-yard loss.
2nd and 12 with 9 minutes left in the third quarter. Ohio Northern down 11 points. Good hard count. Flags are thrown. It's a free play. And Engel just grounds it into the line of scrimmage, looking in the direction of his tailback. That's not necessarily, at least in my opinion, that's not a real bright play. I mean, Engel, who has made some good plays all day long. And I think Magazine's going over to him and saying, hey, man, we had a free play. Take a shot. Throw a home run ball somewhere.
The other thing I'd tell my quarterback, we have the wind. Throw it up. We'll catch it.
Yeah. Usually anywhere that Devin Price is, you're going to have a shot. So I would have expected to see him maybe look that direction, but he didn't. Price is the tightest of the two slot receivers to the left. It's 2nd down and 7. Here's a sweep to the left. Magazine with a couple of blockers stumbled, and that hurt his forward progress just up to the 22.
O'Brien and Krakoa doing a nice job of working to get off of their blocks to slow down the Polar Bear running attack.
Well, it's 3rd down and 3. An injured Yellow Jacket on the field, and unfortunately, I'm not able to tell you who that is with the way everybody's kind of surrounding him. Can't quite see his number. 8 minutes, 40 seconds left in the third quarter. Baldwin Wallace out front of Ohio Northern by a score of 28-17. Today's game brought to you by the Hoffman Group. For all of your insurance and risk management needs, we're located throughout Northeast Ohio to serve you better. Please call the Hoffman Group. Also by Medical Mutual. They are the official healthcare provider of Baldwin Wallace University. When you're looking to receive great health care, you can't go wrong with Medical Mutual. And finally, by the Ohio Education Credit Union. Gain the advantage. The Ohio Education Credit Union offers convenience, trust, and value. Visit our locations in Cleveland, Lyndhurst, Lakewood, and Oberlin, or go online to ohioedcu.com. Build your future today.
Well, breathe a little sigh of relief. That was Dan O'Brien who was down, really the leader of this defense. So Looked like he just got his bell rung a little bit, but he walked off under his own power. And if you're a Yellow Jacket fan, you want to see him back on the field. He has his helmet back on already, so this might be a case where just sit out the one mandatory play and get back out there.
I certainly hope that's the case. All-conference linebacker for BW is the leader of this defense, no doubt. 3rd and 3 for Ohio Northern. The fake handoff to Price. Angle spins off of 2 tackles, and look at him stretch. That is a gutsy play by Patrick Angle, and they're going to give him the first down. What a play.
And Coach Snell for Baldwin Wallace is furious that they're not even going to measure that.
Well, he may get his wish here. We'll have to see. Well, a couple of the Yellow Jacket defenders are waving to their head coach and saying, hey, go off. We'll get it. We'll take care of it. So Snell backs off on the near sideline. His defense has played pretty well today. They've allowed 17 points to this Polar Bear offense, who last week put up 34 against a very good Washington University squad. 1st and 10 from the 25. Angle fakes the handoff. Riemenschneider drills him, and the pass sails incomplete. Go figure, Luke Riemenschneider, who was trying to jazz up the crowd on the near side, he was the one that had waved to Coach Snell, hey, back up, we'll take care of it. And on the very next play, he puts a licking on Patrick Angle.
Riemenschneider with 7 tackles on the day, but no hit bigger than the one we just saw.
He is the right defensive end, wears number 9. 2nd down and 10 from the 25-yard line. Angle from the gun. And that play blew up quickly. Oh, my goodness. Huge loss as Ohio Northern goes now back down to the 16. Somewhere along the way, there was some miscommunication. And Angle sort of just kind of froze there in the backfield.
Well, Justin Magazine, who has struggled mightily today, runs off the field and takes his helmet out. I got to wonder maybe if he just misread what the call was, because he rolled out to the left as if it was going to be an option, and Angle just turned around and held it out for the read option.
Under 7.5 minutes in the third quarter. It's 3rd and 16 from the 19. Hard count. Angle feeling pressure. He gets out to the right-hand side where he can run, and he throws it out of bounds. Devin Price jumping around a little bit, wishing he'd have had a shot, but he was still 4 or 5 yards shy of the first down. So the Polar Bears will kind of lick their wounds here. They'll go 3 and out, and an official's timeout for Tom Iverson, who appears to be dealing with some cramping issues on the far side of the field. He's just trying to stretch a little bit.
That's something I wanted to mention earlier. We've seen a lot of the Jackets down below us on the sideline getting stretched out, when they come off the field. It is warm down there. It is certainly not hot, but it is warmer than it has been. So, we're starting to see some of these players cramp up, so it's important that they stay hydrated as this game continues.
Iverson still on the ground on the far side of the field. If you joined us a little late, I'm Brendan Gulick, Ryan McNaughton alongside here this afternoon. And just because we have the opportunity, and we made mention of it last week, glad to see that you were able to make it out today, despite the fact that you now have a 5-day-old son. First son, Declan Isaac, or is it Declan Isaac?
Declan Isaac McNaughton, born Monday morning. I'm wondering if he might be a cheerleader because the set of lungs this kid has is something else. But he's a good boy, and Mama's doing great. Mama being a Baldwin Wallace alum herself. So I am sure by the time this season comes to an end, that little Declan's going to come out, see this team for himself for the first time.
That'd
so
be
we
great.
we are blessed. I know you and the great Jeff Miller, future Hall of Famer, Sports Information. You guys got us some nice gifts for the little boy, and we really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So it's been life-changing, but absolutely for the better. Absolutely.
Couldn't be happier for you and Kristen, no doubt about that. Iverson comes off the field on the near side, and he is clearly okay. Sometimes when those cramping issues just start to pop up, for the short while when you're cramping up, there is nothing worse, but usually it doesn't last too long. He's had a good day. Hopefully he can come back here soon.
The cramping, and then if you get the wind knocked out of you, you feel like you're going to die for about 20 seconds, and then you're fine.
Yeah. 7:12 left on the third quarter clock. Bonnet and Dunn back deep to return the punt from Kyle Bergman. This is a pretty good kick from Bergman, who's had a couple of mediocre kicks. And it rolls out of bounds at the 28. Very nicely done. Line of scrimmage was the 19, so let's see if I can do my quick math. That's
about 47 yards.
47-yarder, yeah. Pretty good punt.
He's gotten some nice bounces. Those yards after bounce. The yabs, as I affectionately call them.
Yard after bounce?
Yeah. It's better than, you want the yabs, you don't want to get the yips when you're on the field.
Gosh. That's fantastic.
Can you tell I'm working on a couple hours of sleep? Thank you, Declan.
So the Jackets come back out here offensively. 1st and 10 from their own 28-yard line. Both of these teams were 1-0 through 1 week of play. Today is the OAC opener. And being 2-0 is certainly something that both of these teams were hoping for. For Ohio Northern, the beginning of their schedule is just miserable. If they go 2-0, they've got to feel like world beaters. Isaac Reed is smashed right at the 34, a 6-yard carry. Brings up 2nd down and 4 yards to go. I mentioned in the first half they played Washington University, a playoff team from last year, in their opening game. And they open up the OAC schedule at Baldwin Wallace, at Heidelberg. Then finally they get a home game on October 4th against John Carroll. And then they host Mount Union. So they've got pretty arguably the other top 4 teams in the conference right away. Darrell Jones catches a ball and is ripped to the ground. Nice defensive play there as the tackle was put on by Burrell. Just a pickup of a couple of yards. It'll bring up 3rd down and 1. It is 82 degrees to further punctuate your point. Definitely a warm Saturday, September afternoon in Berea. A little breezy, but not many clouds in the sky. Perfect day. 3rd and 1. Handoff is given to Reed, and he's close, but I don't think he got it. Polar Bear defense appears to have come up big on 3rd and 1, and I think that's going to be 4th down.
Great surge by the defensive line for Ohio Northern. They got in the backfield almost as soon as Reed got the ball.
Matt Brewer and Dylan Quiet in on the stop. So the Polar Bears force the 3 and out. They get a great punt, and it looks like they're going to get the ball right back. Now again, keep in mind, Austin Smith, the punter, can run the ball. And Corey Padrett is the only other guy right now not on the line of scrimmage that would protect. He is a running back, so, again, might be something to think about. But I would imagine with an 11-point lead and 5 minutes left in the third quarter, BW's probably punting away here. Not a particularly good punt. It goes to the right-hand side and is out of bounds at the 41-yard line. A net punt of just 20 yards. So frustrating for Austin Smith, who is usually pretty good, but doesn't quite hit that one clean.
Well, let's see what the Polar Bears can do. They have the wind. They have time. The offense has proven they can move the football. Boy, if they get in the end zone here, this game changes real quick. And we saw this from Baldwin Wallace last week. They had spurts, so you'd like to see some more consistency from this offense trying to put this thing away.
28-17 your score. BW leads with 5 minutes left in the third as Angle throws a completion to the right. A gain of 1. Shale Chamberlain with the catch. But what a hit by Dan O'Brien, who, again, was injured just about 10 or 15 minutes ago real time, and quickly comes back into the game. The honorable mention all-conference linebacker with a big stop.
And not only was that a big hit, Jake Maurer put a big hit on Angle when he threw it, so a couple of big hits that time for BW.
2nd and 9, ball's on the 42. Here's a handoff misdirection play. Tony Davis. Look at him rumble all the way up past the first down marker down to the BW 46.
And you just haven't seen the rushing attack like that this afternoon. That's like the first big run they've had from a running back. Now, obviously, Angle had a big run in the first half, but if the Polar Bears can start creating some yards on the ground, this is a whole new ball game, Brendan.
14-yard carry for Tony Davis, who just had 38 last week on 7 carries. Angle throws far side to a wide-open Matt Craven. And Craven, who is trying to keep his balance, did so long enough to pick up the first down. So Ohio Northern, it looks like they're starting to maybe figure things out a little bit on offense. Struggling to get off the field on the far side. I think that is Kevin Krikora, who is also dealing with a bit of some cramping issues. So hopefully Krikora is okay. You know, it's kind of interesting, too. You look at this history between these two teams. BW leads the all-time series 27-11, but they have dominated play in Berea. 16 wins, 3 losses, 1 tie between games played between these two teams on this field. Ohio Northern, for whatever reason, just has not particularly played well whenever they've traveled here, and that's kind of interesting because they're not the kind of ball club that you would look at and say they're not a good road team. Dean Paul, a 1990 grad of Mount Union and a well-respected head coach. He's in his 11th year at Ohio Northern, and he's done a really good job. He's taken them to a playoff run a couple of different times. Whatever reason, they just haven't played well here.
You know, say this about Dean Paul, and this is not a negative. It is not easy to recruit in Ada, Ohio. It just isn't. And the fact that he's able to get the kind of caliber of athletes to Ada that he can speaks volumes about him and his coaching staff, the sales pitch that they can put on these young athletes.
4 receivers set on 1st and 10. A fake handoff and a toss over the middle. Devin Price caught it with his shoulder pad, and he gets all the way up to the 12-yard line. That ball looked like a bullet coming out of Patrick Engel's hand and almost had Price stumbling backwards as he caught it on a significant pickup. And it sets up a 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line for Ohio Northern.
One thing that Price does very well, he's able to find the smallest holes in the defense, and he's there. That was not bad defense, again, by Baldwin Wallace. But that's about the 3rd time I've seen Price just pick his spot, and Angle doing a nice job of finding him.
Each team with 15 first downs. That's the 9th through the air for the Polar Bears. This time another fake handoff, and the ball popped out. Is that a fumble? Everybody jumps on it like it is, waiting for a signal, and the Yellow Jackets come up with it. So Patrick Angle could not get rid of it quickly enough. And the Yellow Jackets caused the day's first turnover. How about that? 2:58 left in the third quarter, and Baldwin Wallace comes up with a big play on defense. They take over at their own 15 with a 28-17 lead.
Brendan, that one is on the quarterback. He had Price open on the left-hand side for a screen, but he was looking for the big play. Just tapped that ball one too many times, and he ran immediately to the bench, put his head in his hands. Now, I'm sure his bell got rung, but I'm sure he's also ticked off at himself.
So it's 1st and 10 from the 15-yard line. He felt a lot of pressure. That was the outside linebacker on the left-hand side who came up with that fumble, forced fumble. Didn't see who came up with it. Actually, believe Kevin Krikora was the one to pop away with it. After a 2-yard loss, it's 2nd down and 12. Baldwin Wallace with an 11-point lead here at the tail end of the third quarter. Running back in the backfield is Austin Smith.
Interesting stat. BW has 0 passing yards here in the third quarter.
Very interesting. On 2nd and 12, Meglin tries to change that, and he will. Over to the far sideline. They just haven't really attacked much through the air. Well, if you remember last week, and I don't want to use the word complacent because I don't think that's fair, but it at least creeps into your head that when BW was up 19-0 against a team in Bluffton who they've dominated in recent years, they felt pretty good about where they were. And Bluffton came out in the second half, and I think you could say probably outplayed BW, but the cushion was large enough that the Jackets were able to outlast it. And so far, Ohio Northern has played a better second half than they have in the first half. That tackle was made just past the first down marker by A.J. Simpson, the nose tackle, who actually backed up into coverage. So the scramble play for Meglin picks up 4 when he needed 3, and it moves the chains. First down BW from the 26.
That's a big play by Meglin right there, Brendan. They needed that third down conversion. You can see the defenders down below us on the sidelines. They're a little tired, and they were ready to get on the field, so now they can come back, meet with their coaches, catch their breath, and hopefully see their offense get a few more first downs.
William Bowden giving a ton of room on the bottom side of your screen. The cornerback is matched up with Mike Wagner. There's a fake handoff and a flag thrown in, and I think we may have a false start. This has not been a very penalty-prone day for either team. In fact, Ohio Northern just 1 for 5 yards. That's the 4th Yellow Jacket penalty for just a total of 25 yards.
And you couldn't say that last week. Jackets had 9 penalties. Ohio Northern had 12.
Not entirely sure what for, but a lot of the fans on the near side here just erupted in cheers. That's an odd time to be cheering when your team commits a penalty.
They're clearly listening to your stellar call on the brand new iPhone 6s.
1 minute left in the third quarter. First down and 15 from their own 21. A fake handoff. Meglin looking to throw. He's got some room to run on the left. And he's out of bounds about midway between the sticks. He'll pick up close to 10 yards. Tyler Meglin just keeping things alive with his feet.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of, today's quarterback has to be that. There's always the argument of, do you want the traditional drop-back passer or do you want the dual threat? Well, where's the sport going?
Do you want Peyton Manning or you want Russell Wilson? I totally agree with you. And depending on the kind of offense you're running, either can be very effective, as there's an incomplete pass thrown. I mean, heck, in this conference alone, I know it's easy to use Mount Union as an example for just about everything positive because they've been so good, but Kevin Burke is probably the best dual-threat quarterback in the country. He won the Gallardi Trophy last year, which is the Division III Heisman, and he is as good an athlete at Division III as there is. I mean, he's just an outstanding quarterback and keeps a lot of plays alive just by running. Jones to the left side. It's 3rd down and 7. Ball's on their own 29. Then you get a guy like a John Carroll, Mark Myers, who won't use his feet hardly ever, but he throws for yards all the time. On the near side, a timeout was just called by Baldwin Wallace beforehand. So again, just within this conference, I mean, you've got two quarterbacks for two teams that are ranked in the top 10 of the country that are very different styles of play, but both extremely successful.
Yeah, and I think it'd be fair to say, if you looked at all levels of college football today, the vast majority of offenses, they're running this type of spread. Alabama still kind of runs a pro style. But that's one of the few programs, Notre Dame. But this is the type of offense that you're seeing, and you're absolutely seeing that change a little bit even on the pro game. Yeah, I think a lot of professional teams were hesitant. They thought it was gimmicky, that it wouldn't work. But you're seeing these dual-threat quarterbacks go up. And I'd say the next 5-10 years, it's really going to change the face of professional football.
Early in the third quarter, it's still 45-0 Mount Union over Muskingum. Otterbein leads Marietta 7-0 at halftime. Capital leads Wilmington 21-14 at the midway intermission. And John Carroll has a 30-7 lead over Heidelberg. The Heidelberg touchdown was a 100-yard interception return for score. So the John Carroll defense that was second in the country last year all season still hasn't given up an offensive touchdown in the first 2 weeks yet. Of course, here, BW still atop, 28-17. On 3rd and 7, Meglin again looking around. Look at him run. Now an opening to the right. Needs to get to the 36. He is just a yard short.
Wow. He needed 6 yards. I think he ran 45 to get 5 yards.
And a timeout called by the Polar Bears. Now, this is a smart use of a timeout because it's 4th and 1. There are only 14 seconds left in the quarter, and Dean Paul says, I'm going to make you punt the football into the wind because that's where Austin Smith's punts today have not been quite as strong, even though usually he's a pretty good punter. So 14 seconds left, 4th and 1 for BW from the 35, and some strategy being used by the Polar Bears to try to set up with good field position.
Jackets now 5 of 10 on third downs for the afternoon. That is an improvement from last week when they were just 3 of 13.
You know what I'd be interested to know, and maybe you know off the top of your head, I don't remember, how many of those third down conversions were in the first 2 drives when they went down the field and scored? Because I think they had at least 2. The offense, I mean, those first 2 drives of the game, it was ridiculous. I mean, they couldn't miss on anything. I don't think they had anything even remotely close to a negative play on those first 2 drives. So 14 seconds left as the research department goes to work.
That would be me. They had 2 in the first quarter, 1 on each of those first 2 drives.
Okay. Smith to punt it away. And he smacks a low, wobbling kick to the far side. It goes out of bounds at the 35. Well, I would say on that 30-yard punt, Dean Paul probably pretty pleased with that. Not to mention he's got 7 seconds left in the third quarter to maybe let Patrick Engel take a shot at throwing a ball further down the field. That will be BW's advantage in the fourth quarter. On top of having right now what is an 11-point lead, they'll have the wind at their back.
Well, and you have to assume if you get that aggressive and make that timeout, you're not going to run the ball up the middle on first down, are you? In the last play of the quarter, you have to do something kind of big.
I would think so. We'll see if Dean Paul and company agree. Engel with 4 targets, the defensive line shifting around. A throw to the left-hand side, and it is almost intercepted. The clock stops with just 2 seconds left here in the third quarter. Diving attempt by Austin Cordova, but just a little bit undercut it, and he couldn't quite get his hands all the way around the ball.
And you saw the defense was expecting a play. They dropped everybody back in coverage. I think they're kind of thinking the same thing you and I are.
2nd and 10 from the 35. Engel going to keep it. Patrick Engel right up the middle, and he is very close to the first down marker. And that is the last play of the third quarter. The Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets, who last week got into a fairly tight game late, but came away with it after a good fourth quarter. They're going to need exactly the same thing here because they only lead by 11 over a potent Polar Bears offense. 15 minutes left, 28-17 Jackets.
Yeah, I think we're in for a pretty darn good fourth quarter, Brendan. There's too much talent on this field to say otherwise. Big drive. Let's see how Ohio Northern can deal with going into the wind. I got to think they're disappointed that they only got 3 points in the third quarter when they had the wind at their back and they got the ball to start the second half. They got those 3 points right off the bat coming out of the locker room and then weren't able to take advantage thereafter.
A big congratulations to the BW men's golf team. They won the River Greens Classic over host John Carroll this afternoon. Speaking of John Carroll, we'll go back to that JCU Heidelberg game. The Blue Streaks have added another touchdown. It's 37-7. And that matchup between two of the top 16 teams in the country, according to D3Football.com, is heavily favoring the Blue Streaks at this point. Of course, John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace will fare off against each other next week. Mark Myers in that ball game, 27 of 40 for 319 yards and 3 touchdowns. And the Blue Streaks as a team have run for over 100 yards. Here's Engel with a ton of space. Off to the races. Touchdown. A 55-yard touchdown run on 3rd and inches by Patrick Engel. And the Ohio Northern Polar Bears on the first play of the fourth quarter have pulled within 5 points.
Well, give Engel credit. He absolutely sold the read option. He read it right. The Jackets were stacked off to the right-hand side. He saw there was a lot more room to run on the near side of the field, and he took complete advantage of it.
DeMario on for the extra point. He has hit both of them already today. And a flag is thrown on the far side of the field. That's just going to back up the PAT. I think they're going to call it sideline interference because so many of Ohio Northern's players and coaches were out on the field. That's the second time today that Ohio Northern has done that, though there were more coaches than players on the field at that point.
There's still a coach on the field.
I believe that is the head coach, Dean Paul. He'll wander back over.
And you wonder, kicking in this wind, will 5 yards make a big difference?
We'll find out. This is essentially a 25-yard field goal, so not a particularly long one, but tight game, so we'll see. To make it 28-24, it's a high snap, and the kick is good. Just tucked it in the left upright. 28-24 is our score. Patrick Engel making things happen with his arm and with his feet today. It's been an impressive ball game. I would have to think, at least from a Ohio Northern perspective, he's got to be your MVP so far, but I'm not sure who I'd pick for Baldwin Wallace.
If you're asking me, I think it's got to be Megalin at this point.
Yeah, probably.
Because not only has he been solid offensively, 12 of 17 for $159, 2 touchdowns through the air, he has nearly 70 yards on the ground as well. And that's important because Isaac Reed, your top tailback, who was so effective last week, has been held to just 57 yards.
Well, Engel has more than made up for that. Last week, threw for 220, ran for 75, and was a part of 3 touchdowns. Today, he has thrown for 170 and 2 scores, but carried the ball 13 times for net 97 yards. And, of course, that 56-yard touchdown run. So things are tightening up here in Berea. 14:49 left in our ball game. Matt Chaney on to boot it away. And the ball has blown off the tee. So we'll reset. This is a big drive for BW. They have not done much offensively here in half number 2. Certainly haven't put any points on the board this half. They've surrendered 10 on a field goal and then that kickoff. Now the ball has blown off a second time, so Melvin Williams will have to hold it on there. Well, and again, this is exactly why Dean Paul had BW punt into the wind a moment ago. We'll have to see how this affects this kick. Wouldn't surprise me here if they purposely just try to keep it low. This one is a low bouncing ball, fielded at the 25 and brought forward into a crowd of polar bears. Nice return. That one brought up by Nick Malvasi. Second time we've called his name on special teams in this one.
My fuzzy math is correct. And keep in mind, I was a journalism major and not a mathematician. The Jackets had about 36 yards of offense in the third quarter. So I agree with you. This is a critical drive for Baldwin Wallace.
Got to do something here to at least hang your hat on. And again, with momentum and the wind at your back, I shouldn't say momentum, with the wind at your back, that certainly puts a few more things into play. Well, they immediately hand it to Austin Smith. He just covers the ball up and took a vicious collision right at the first down marker where he will move the chains. So despite being a maybe painful carry, no problem for Austin Smith. 10-yard pickup puts the ball at the Ohio Northern 47, and it's 1st and 10 for BW. Now Meglin goes under center. Two tight ends on the line of scrimmage. And they're going to hand it again to Smith. He goes right over the center and is hit in the second level of the defense. Tackle made for Ohio Northern by number 23, Dan Eller, sophomore linebacker out of Medina High School.
There's a late flag. I think they might get unsportsmanlike conduct on Baldwin Wallace. Yeah, that's on Anthony Laudenin. He mixed it up with one of the polar bears after the play. He had a couple of his teammates push him back, and I think it's because he might have mouthed off a bit to the official, not because of what he might have done to one of the polar bears. Because he had a couple of his teammates saying, "Easy, easy, big fella," and he just kept flapping your jaws, and you can't make that type of mistake in a game this tight.
You know, I certainly don't like to pound on guys, but Lautanen has cost his team dearly today. He also had the hold on the 65-yard touchdown pass that Meglin threw in the first half. Another handoff. Austin Smith spins and picks up about half the yards that were lost because of the penalty. It brings up 3rd down and long. And now a whole different unit. About 7 new shirts on the field for the Polar Bears. BW going to try to quickly get the play off. They do. Meglin flushed out to the right. Throws over the middle, and Dunn couldn't hang on. He was right at the stick. Needed to get to the 37. That's where he was. But he couldn't bring the pass in. That brings up 4th down and about 15 yards. And I don't think there's any question here. BW has to punt it away.
Well, a couple things. One, like you said, he was at the stick. I think he looked up to see where he was before he brought the ball in. But two, how important was that penalty right now? What a turn of events for Ohio Northern. They're now in the driver's seat.
Ohio Northern is down 28-24, but about to get the ball back. Just 13:26 left in regulation in a tight game here in Berea. Smith, who just had a lot of runs on that drive, punts it away. Riemenschneider's got to get out of the way. This takes a friendly bounce for the Polar Bears back toward the 18 or 19-yard line.
And I'll tell you, Darnell Bloom, the defensive back for Ohio Northern, almost ran into that football. Yeah, I don't think he quite knew where the ball was or he was, and a couple of the folks on the sidelines for BW are arguing that it might have hit the young man, but they're going to say it is Ohio Northern ball.
Well, they'll put it with the nose of the football on the 20. Patrick Engel, who had a 56-yard touchdown run on the last offensive play for the Polar Bears, comes back out. A touchdown would give Ohio Northern the lead late in this ball game. Price the motion man, and you can sense the energy on the Ohio Northern offense as Engel just throws one at the feet of his tight end. He didn't really have anybody open. 2nd and 10 from the 20. Pretty rowdy crowd. They're all arguing for grounding, although I don't know why, because it literally almost hit the foot of the tight end coming across the middle.
Angle now 16 of 29 on the afternoon for 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. He has almost 100 more with his feet.
Into a stiff wind, 2nd and 10. Polar Bears hand it off, misdirection. Tony Davis, right through the middle, and the big fellow goes all the way up to the 45-yard line. And look at how jazzed up he is. Devontae Greer with a touchdown-saving tackle.
And that play happened because Baldwin Wallace blitzed Dan O'Brien, and the offensive line did an excellent job of picking him up, freed up a lot of space past the defensive front 6. And Ohio Northern's moving now. This is a ball game.
So Davis with 3 carries for 40 yards in this one. 1st and 10 from the 45. Angle fakes the handoff. Throws back to the left side. It's Davis again. And we'll see where his foot went out of bounds. He's close to midfield. Wow, they're going to give him all the way up to the BW 49. So on that awkward-looking dive, he managed to stay in bounds and picks up 6 yards. It's 2nd and 4. Justin Magazine has not really been much a part of this game. Just 7 carries for 10 yards. His longest carry of the day went for 4 yards. He is the tailback next to Angle and takes this handoff to the left side. This is his best run of the day. Look at him go all the way down to the 36, just dragging defenders with him. That'll bring the Polar Bears sideline to life. 12:04 left in the 4th quarter, and the Jackets are on their heels.
Well, you mentioned it was 82 degrees at the start of the second half. This Jacket defense has been on the field for most of this half. They are starting to get a little bit tired.
These two teams were 2 of the top teams in the country in terms of time of possession in their Week 1 matchups, for whatever that's worth. They ran the ball effectively and kept the clock turning. Lots of long drives. Angle dumps it off. Chamberlain up to the 30. That's a pickup of 6 yards, and it brings up 2nd and 4. So how about this? Little chunks at a time, and then a couple of bigger runs. And this drive that started all the way back, I believe, at the 20-yard line is now fairly deep into BW territory.
Well, it's taken a little longer than I think many of us expected, but the Polar Bear offense starting to find some gaps in that BW defense that they're starting to be able to exploit.
Yellow Jackets lead it by 4. They're on defense. 2nd and 4, balls on the 31. Fake pitch, Angle spins around a defender, and he's down to the 25-yard line.
Pure athleticism right there. Give Angle all the credit. That BW defense had that play snuffed out. His athleticism moved the chains.
Both teams looking to start the season 2-0. Ohio Northern just wants to win their 4th game all-time in Berea. They are 3-16-1 when playing here at Baldwin Wallace. Just under 11 minutes left, 4-point deficit, but the Polar Bears are driving. Angle fakes the handoff, throws it deep, looking for 6, touchdown. A quick strike pass from Patrick Angle to the far corner. Reed Allen, the touchdown reception, and Ohio Northern takes the 30-28 lead.
And you know what? We have spoken so highly of Nelson Candelario all afternoon long. He misread that pass. That pass was going over his outside shoulder. He turned on the inside, and it was his turn to get spun around. But give Angle credit, a perfectly placed pass. And just like that, the Polar Bears are on top.
To make this a 3-point game, on for the extra point. And DeMario connects. 31-28, the Jackets have been outscored 17-0 here in half number 2. This Ohio Northern offense, after trailing by 17 a week ago to one of the better teams in the country last season, they came back to win 34-20. And in this one this afternoon, they have not trailed by more than 14, but now they lead it by 3, a 17-point swing.
Well, it's gut check time right now. It is gut check time for the Yellow Jackets. You've played so very well for most of this afternoon. You've been stymied on offense here in the second half. You have the wind at your back. Do you have what it takes to step it up and regain this lead or at least tie it up?
It's going to start if they can get good field position, and you'd almost certainly think they could, considering the wind that Ohio Northern has to kick into here. Cheney is on for the kickoff for the Polar Bears. For Reed Allen, that was his first touchdown reception of the season. Cheney's kick is a low bouncing ball. Corey Padrett, the senior running back from the 24, and he is brought up to about the 34, close to a 10-yard return. Well, I think we're going to see Isaac Reed come back here on offense. We haven't seen him the last couple series for whatever reason, and I think you got to bring him back in to try to give you a spark.
Yeah, he was able to be a yeoman in the backfield last week. He is one of your leaders. You turn to your leaders in these types of situations, no doubt about it.
Meglin is 12 for 18 for 159 yards. Was he not 10 of 12 at halftime, Ryan?
Indeed he was.
First down and 10. Ball's on the 34-yard line. This is Isaac Reed, and he picked up maybe a yard.
Again, here in the second half, Baldwin Wallace has about 50 yards of offense to this point after having nearly 300 in half number one.
2nd and 9 from their own 35. Wagner Dunn to the right and Slack wide to the left. Kapfer, the tight end, and Isaac Reed, the motioning tailback. Meglin to throw. Dumps it underneath, and Michael Slack is hit immediately by Andy Scholes, the defensive end from North Royalton, which is only about 15 minutes from here. So gets a chance to play in front of some family and friends locally, I imagine. Slack took a good lick, and he is a little slow to get up. It will be 3rd down and 5 when play resumes, as the training staff and head coach head out to have a quick talk with him.
So certainly a tale of two halves. So the BW offense struggling. Ohio Northern with over 230 yards here in the second half. So whatever this coaching staff told Ohio Northern in the locker room at halftime, they know these young men absolutely listened.
9:45 and counting left in the fourth quarter. Still plenty of time. BW trailing 31-28. Press coverage on the outside as Corey Padrett is in at tailback. Meglin keeps it, and he goes down what looked to me short of the first down. When his knee hit, before he rolled, he was short, and they're going to give him the first down, a lucky spot for the Jackets.
Wow.
I mean, he wasn't even close.
Yeah, I know he fell forward, but I agree. It was knees first.
I wonder what the conversation is over on the far side of the field there between the two officials.
Well, the
clock is continuing to run, so I think they're determining where they need to set it back.
Well, certainly there is look, the technology that we have here to provide this worldwide is fantastic. There is no instant replay. There are no challenges on this level, so the call on the field will stand. But I think you and I are in agreement. The Jackets caught a break.
They put 9:30 back on the clock. 1st and 10 from their own 44. And now the clock will start winding down. They had to wait till the ball was set. Crowd coming to life in Berea. Meglin checks the play. A handoff to Reed. He's got room up the middle and has close to a first down.
First time we've seen him spring free all second half. That gets Reed at about 67 yards on the afternoon.
2nd and less than a yard as William Bowden checks out of the game defensively. He's replaced on the field by Darnell Bloom as the near side corner on Joe Kajauskis. 2nd and 1. Fake handoff. Meglin on the run. He tucks it. He's got the first and ducks out of bounds at the 41. Good recognition by Meglin when he saw that Kajauskis was not open. Just pick it up yourself.
Yeah, that's almost a design play, Brendan, because there's only one receiver really trying to split that defense. The odds are Meglin's just going to have to tuck and run. So smart heads-up play, not only by him but for the offensive line, knowing that is probably the outcome of that play.
BW looking for their first points of the second half. 8.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. They're trailing 31-28. First and 10 from the Ohio Northern 40. Three-receiver look for Meglin with Isaac Reed to his left. 4-3 defense. Meglin guns it to Slack. He's got it at the 35 and picks up a first down after the catch. Tackle by Dan Eller, but not before the chains move again. This is the kind of drive BW has been looking for since about the middle of the second quarter.
Yeah, this is the offense we saw steamroll up and down the field the first two quarters.
Darrell Jones, the second tight end, comes in, and he will stand to the right of the quarterback. This almost screams Isaac Reed to run the ball. It's a Reed option, and Reed will take it. Reed is the option, pun intended.
Literally a Reed option.
Up to the 26. 2nd and 4. There's a lot of defensive players right now with hands on hips, and that's not necessarily a good sign from the far side of the field as these guys try to figure out how to stop this Baldwin Wallace attack right now. 2nd and 6. Meglin indecisive, but he has some room and spins down as he's tackled. A.J. Simpson and Adam Best both in on the stop.
Nice job by Tim Pillay, the offensive lineman. He released his defender just in time so he wouldn't be called for a holding penalty.
Looks like it's 3rd and 2 from the 22. BW with the wind at their back. I would imagine this is really close to field goal range, but I don't know how far they would want to stretch out Joe Simonis. From here, it would be a 39-yarder, which would be by far the furthest we've seen from him all year. We've only seen him attempt kicks from basically extra point distance. 6:25 left in the fourth. 2 yards for a first down, and they will get it. Oh, my goodness. They're going to say Kyle Dunn caught the ball for a 3-yard catch, and I think Ohio Northern has reasonable beef.
I saw it bounce from up here,
I was going to
Brendan.
say, I don't think it was even close. Jackets will take the good fortune, though. It's 1st and 10 from the 19. Wow.
Well, it's called home field advantage for a reason.
Right. Slack, Dunn, and Wagner, the wideouts. Kapfer moves left to right. Now Reed, right to left. There were 2 men in motion at the same time there still. I didn't think Kapfer was quite set yet. 5 on the play clock. Meglin hands to Reed. Shimmies his way down to the 10, maybe the 11-yard line. As an eruption of applause on the near side approves of the positive gain. 2nd in, we'll call it a yard. The ball's on the 11. 5:25. This drive started back at right about the 30-yard line for BW, and they have just methodically moved right up the field. It's 31-28 Polar Bears, but that defense may be letting them down here. BW is certainly in field goal range at this point, but they are definitely seeking 6. Reed again, and he's got the first down of the 8. Well, you wonder here how much of the goal is obviously to score, but you would like to think now inside 5 minutes you're probably trying to kill a lot of clock too.
Oh, absolutely. You know, the way you've seen Ohio Northern move the football here in the second half, regardless of if you have the wind or not, you don't want to give them the ball with a whole lot of time left.
Yep.
And also remember, Ohio Northern already used one of their timeouts at the end of the third quarter.
We've mentioned BW has not yet scored in the second half, but they are close to doing that here. Meglin is going to be tackled right about the 5-yard line. Nicely done by Melvin Williams, the junior corner out of Jacksonville, Florida. He wrapped him up around the legs.
If Meglin had a do-over, and right now I think he wishes he did, he tries to bust that to the outside, he might get in for 6. Instead, he tried to dance and cut inside. That's not going to work. But if he would have utilized his speed on the outside, I think he had a good chance of getting in.
Interesting here, Kapfer, the tight end, is stacked up behind Slack on the top side of the formation. 2nd and goal. Ball's on the 6. Here's a handoff to Reed right up the middle and waiting for a signal. I think he is down just short. And they will put him down literally within a foot of the goal line. Polar Bears trying to get everybody on the field. And a touchdown. The Yellow Jackets finally get on the board here in the second half and take a 34-31 lead.
Great drive for the Baldwin Wallace offense. Took time off. It was balanced. Big plays. Hey, caught a break or two from the gentleman in stripes. All in all, the perfect answer to all those haymakers Ohio Northern's thrown at them here in half number 2.
Flag is thrown. The wind is blowing right now as hard as it has all day. An illegal substitution was just called on Ohio Northern, and that penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. And the Polar Bears coaching staff is hot. So the extra point will continue from the same length. That penalty, again, will be enforced on the kickoff. Dean Paul is speaking with the head official, and again, I don't think he is all that thrilled at the moment. .332 left in the fourth quarter. This is a crucial PAT because at the moment it's a 34-31 game. You usually take a PAT for granted, but you shouldn't. If it goes through, it becomes a 35-31 game, and then a field goal for Ohio Northern would be worthless. Officials are meeting on the near side here. Here's the call. Well, it sounds like they are disallowing that, or I should say negating the penalty. I think that's the right call because they were bringing on a group when I think BW did make one substitution because Meglin could have gotten that snap off a little quicker. He was kind of looking around to make sure everybody was set. Again, I don't have the ability to see a replay to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure you could go back and see that the Polar Bears had reason to bring somebody on there. Extra point is through the uprights. The only thing BW cares about right now is the fact that they lead 35-31, finally putting points on the board in the second half with 3:32 left.
How about this start to OAC football, Brendan?
That's right.
How about this start? A wonderfully played game on both sides of the ball. Tremendous entertainment, big plays, even some big stops defensively, even if you see the score. You wouldn't think a lot of defense has been played, but there have been some big stops.
You ready for this? Meglin's 1-yard run caps a 14-play, 66-yard drive that took 7:04 off the clock.
You can't draw it up better than that. You can't. But let's see now. Ohio Northern, 250-plus yards of offense here in the second half. Patrick Angle really making things happen under center. We saw Justin Magazine start to warm up a little bit on that last drive. There's a lot of football left to be played. This BW defense has been on the field a lot. Do they have a couple more minutes left in them?
I'll be interested to see if Williams or Price, both back deep here, be interested to see if one of the two of them tries to take it out of the end zone. If Simonis can get it that deep, because we've seen with the wind blowing, again, as hard as it is from right to left, we've seen a couple balls carry that deep, but those are two pretty impressive athletes. They might try to take matters into their own hands a little bit. Simonis has checked either direction, and the kick. A good kick. Price will not catch it. It sails over his head, and a touchback.
Huge kick right there. Huge kick for the Jackets. Again, we focused so much on special teams in the first week, and thus far, this Jacket special teams squad has stood up to a lot of question marks that folks had entering this season.
So, 1st and 10 for the Polar Bears. They need a touchdown, down 4 points. It's 35-31 with 3:32 left in the fourth quarter. They have 2 timeouts remaining. Baldwin Wallace also with 2. Reed Allen caught the 25-yard touchdown pass last drive, which, at least for the time being then, had given Ohio Northern the lead. 4-receiver look. Magazine the tailback. Angle over the middle. Caught and immediately stopped. But a first down up to the 35. Chad Bridges, first catch, first target of the game, and he got hit hard. Angle with over 100 yards on the ground and over 200 yards through the air in this one. 1st and 10 from the 36. He quickly throws left side, playing with that sideline, and Bridges on his second straight catch just ducks out of bounds, 2 yards shy of the first down. Stops the clock at 3:09.
Now, we did see Ohio Northern break a long touchdown pass into the teeth of this wind earlier in the half. In the first half. So you might be wondering, well, is BW going to play tight coverage or soft? Ohio Northern's been able to move the ball in this wind, so either one.
2nd and 2, a screen play to the right, and it's incomplete. Maybe tipped on the way by. Good pressure from Austin Cordova. Brings up 3rd and 2, a crucial 3rd down, and the crowd is roaring to life. Ohio Northern 5 of 11 on 3rd down in this one. They have converted their only 4th down that they tried to. Craven and Allen wide to the right. Price, the lone man, to the top side of the formation. On 3rd and 2, a fake handoff to Price. Angle keeps it, and he'll move the chains on a 3-yard carry. 2:46 left. The clock will resume after the ball has been spotted. So 1st and 10 for Ohio Northern from their own 47. A field goal does them no good. They need to get in the end zone. Baldwin Wallace has that in their back pocket. They basically have 53 yards of field to play with. And no matter where the Polar Bears get, it just can't be the end zone. On 1st down, Angle sends a man in motion. Pumps, throws over the middle, and it was dangerously low and almost intercepted. I think he was looking for Price, but maybe threw a different route. Incomplete.
And it looked like Tyler Burdorf might have gotten to Angle right as he hit it, or right as he made the pass. 2nd down and 10. Ohio Northern has absolutely come to life here in half number 2. Scored 17 points to take a 31-28 lead, but Meglin capped off a big drive with a 1-yard touchdown run to give the Yellow Jackets the lead back. Now Angle near side, the screen pass complete to Matt Craven. That's a pickup of 4 yards and sets up 3rd and 6 with the clock ticking at 2:07. Jackets only rushing 4 as they load up their coverage knowing the Polar Bears are in passing mode.
It's 4-down territory, no questions asked here. 4 targets and a running back. Angle got a first down. Devin Price at the 40. And he's inside, close to that 37-yard line. 1:48 left in the ball game.
Just a simple out route that time by Price. You gotta know where Price is on the field. He was wide open.
1:44 and counting. 1st and 10 from the 37 for the Polar Bears. Trying to win the ball game. Patrick Angle could send this team to 2-0. Jackets trying to stand up. Here's a home run pass to the left side. Reed Allen, incomplete. Well, he took a shot, and from 25 yards out last time, he connected with Allen for the go-ahead score, looking for it again.
You know, that might not look impressive, but in the teeth of this wind, that is arm strength. We've seen punters struggle with their leg. That was a heck of a throw, a lot of oomph behind it.
Not to mention, obviously taking a shot, and it stops the clock at 1:31. 2nd and 10. Angle rolls left, dumps it underneath, and Price has the catch, just tiptoes up the sideline. He tried to stay all the way past the first down marker, but maybe his toenail was out of bounds at the 31.
Boy, and the opportunity was there to tackle him inbounds. So that's a huge break for the Polar Bears.
3rd down and 4 from the 31. 1:24 left. The clock stops with that pass out of bounds under 2 minutes. 35-31 BW. Ohio Northern has it 3rd and 4 on the Jacket 31. Hard count. Angle incomplete. Nowhere close to Matt Craven. And the Yellow Jackets are one defensive stand away from going to 2-0. And this place is getting loud here at Treesel Field at George Finney Stadium. Polar Bear fans on their feet over on the far side as well. Patrick Engel, the senior who transferred in 2 years ago, trying to lead his team in the biggest moment of the young season. Drive stays alive on the completion to Price, down to the 24, 1:15 on the clock.
Give Price credit. That pass was behind him, and he was able to turn around and make that catch. Tremendous effort by Devin Price.
Second 4th down conversion of the game for the Ohio Northern offense. 1:04 and counting. 1st and 10 from the 24. Engel had 3.5 minutes to work with. He pumps, throws it deep toward the left side, and incomplete. Looking again for Price, but overthrew that one out of the back of the end zone. 2nd down and 10. Clock stops with 53 seconds left.
And Baldwin Wallace, to me, finally deciding to blitz a linebacker to put some pressure on Engel. And that time John McElfresh was able to get in the backfield as Engel threw it. Put some pressure on. Make him make a play.
Engel could still use his feet here. They've got 2 timeouts left, and again, at no point would they settle for a field goal. Soft coverage on the outsides. 2nd and 10 from the 24. Jackets up 4. This one again caught by Price inside the 20. At the 19-yard line, the clock runs with 45 seconds and counting. It's 3rd down and 5 from the 19.
They're letting a lot of time go by.
34 seconds left. Price in motion. Engel looking right. And he just chucks it toward the back of the end zone. 20 seconds left. 21 seconds left after the incomplete pass. Well, it's 4th down and 5. It'd be interesting to see if they take a timeout to talk about this, or if they just use the 30 seconds left on the play clock to just go for it. Either way, they need to get to the 14-yard line for a 1st down. And again, everybody on their feet. Ohio Northern trailing 35-31 after scoring the first 17 points of the second half. The Yellow Jackets retook the lead last drive. Biggest play of the game right here. Engel tucks it. He's got a 1st down and then some. Down to the 10-yard line with 15 seconds left, and Ohio Northern will burn their first timeout. The second 4th down conversion on this drive, once because Engel threw it to his favorite favorite junior target, Devin Price, and that time because he used his legs to find the 1st down sticks.
Well, the Polar Bears had spread out their receivers so much that created a big gap in the middle of the field. So if the pressure had come on, there was that much room for Engel to run. But give him credit. He's a very smart quarterback. You can tell why he received a scholarship from Youngstown State. He's quick on his feet. He makes smart decisions. We've only seen him really make 1 or 2 questionable calls. He's made smart choices under pressure as far as throwing the ball away. He hasn't forced much. This is the type of quarterback that is built to run a 2-minute offense.
26 of 45 for 259 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the Polar Bears have not turned it over via interception all day. BW did come up with 1 fumble early in the second half. Engel has 16 carries for 115 yards as well. He has had some heck of a day. 35-31 Yellow Jackets, 15 seconds left. BW with 2 timeouts, Ohio Northern with 1 left. First and goal from the 10. The Jackets have to keep Ohio Northern out of the end zone. Engel looks right. Jump ball for Price. Touchdown. 9 seconds left. A 10-yard pass from Patrick Engel to Devin Price. He looked off the coverage and threw a floater to the back right pylon, and Price comes up big. This is an enormous extra point because it makes it a 3-point game, but for the moment, the Polar Bears have broken the Jackets' hearts.
Is there anybody inside this facility that did not think Price was going to be involved in these last couple of plays? Big-time players make big-time plays. And that young man just made a big-time play.
Well, Ohio Northern's going to talk about this. They appeared to at least be considering going for 2. I don't blame them for taking this timeout. If you go for 2 and get it, well, I mean, you make BW, you have to score a touchdown. I don't know. This is interesting. I think, not that my opinion counts, but I think I'd be more inclined to just kick it here. You know, at the worst, you're going to have all the momentum in the world going into overtime if it came to that.
Right.
And yes, it would mean BW, came up with some miraculous play and kicked a field goal probably as time would expire. But I think I'd rather, if I'm on the road, knowing how bad they have played here historically, I think I'd play it safe and probably try to kick it.
Well, you have to give this Polar Bear squad a ton of credit. For the second consecutive week, they have been down big early, and they have stormed back. You wonder, boy, if these guys could get out of the gates quicker, the damage they might be able to do in this conference moving forward.
Well, they have chosen a very aggressive route and have forced BW to now call a timeout. The Jackets, with 2 in their pocket, burn 1 without even really thinking about it, no problem. 9 seconds left. Again, that drive started with a touchback. It started at the 25-yard line with 3:32 on the clock. And Patrick Engel just moved the team all the way up the field, truly about as methodically as you could. They converted 2 fourth downs, and both of them right around the 20 and the 15-yard line. It was a 16-play, 75-yard drive to take 3:23 off. For as impressive as the BW drive was, burning 7 minutes and taking a late lead, that Ohio Northern drive was something awesome. I mean, that was something to watch.
If there's one thing you don't want to woulda, shoulda, coulda, but I would have liked to have seen some more pressure applied on the quarterback that last drive. The Jackets seemed content in just rushing 3 or 4 at a time and playing some soft coverage and giving up 5 or 6 yards at a time.
Polar Bears trying to go for 2 and making this a 4-point game. Engel rolls right, throws, and it's incomplete. And, of course, on a 2-point conversion, no time comes off the clock. And so with that, it makes this interesting. If BW gets a crazy good kick return, they could find themselves in a position to try to kick a long game-winning field goal with the wind at their back. And we've seen Simonis. I mean, on kickoffs, he's put the ball all the way into the end zone. He's got a good leg, and the wind is at his back. So it should be interesting to see what he can come up with here.
Well, I would anticipate, based on what the special teams for the Polar Bears have done all afternoon, we're going to see some sort of squib kick. So I'd be kind of curious to see if the speed guys play up a little more than they typically would.
By the way, final in University Heights as well. The other exciting game in the conference today. John Carroll just throttled Heidelberg for the second year in a row, 43-16. John Carroll will host BW next week. And this Ohio Northern team will go to Heidelberg next week. So will it be a 1-1 Polar Bear team, or I beg your pardon, a 1-1 Heidelberg team against a 2-0 Polar Bear team? We'll find out. The kickoff is taken from the 20. Immediately tackled with now 5 seconds left on the clock. The Polar Bears will just go into a prevent defense here. We'll see where they mark him. It's going to be close to 35, I would think. 37-35 is the score. Ohio Northern out of timeouts. Baldwin Wallace has 1 remaining. BW has 5 seconds to what I would imagine here is basically score a touchdown, because I don't think you're going to be able to get into field goal range in 5 seconds. So, do the Yellow Jackets have something miraculous in the making? Meglin to Slack, and the tackle. Timeout called, but did he get it off before the clock hit triple zeros? It does not appear so. Final score, Baldwin Wallace loses a heartbreaker at home this afternoon, 37-35 to the Ohio Northern Polar Bears, who again, with 2 late drives by both of these two teams down the stretch, Ryan, you thought BW was going to put it away. They had done everything they could to basically do that, and Ohio Northern didn't give up.
We saw it in week 1. We saw it this afternoon. A tale of 2 halves where the Jackets played so well in one half, and you hate to see this. There's some words being exchanged in the handshake line. A lot of emotions, obviously. In the second half, Ohio Northern outgains Baldwin Wallace 299 to 150. Tale of 2 halves. You'd like to see Baldwin Wallace put 2 solid halves back-to-back, and I'm sure that day is going to come. Just a heartbreaking loss, though, this afternoon.
So the Yellow Jackets lose for just the 4th time all-time on their home field to Ohio Northern, and BW will have to go play the current 10th-ranked team in the country. John Carroll may go up a little bit in the standings, on the national rankings, after handling another nationally ranked team pretty well. But you'd think John Carroll would be at least 10th after that decisive win. Meanwhile, Ohio Northern, at the ridiculous schedule they have at the outset of the season against Washington University, and then the top 4 teams in the OAC, them excluded, right at the outset, hey, they're 2-0, and they look like they're a team that can go out and ball.
And you look at early in the season when typically, and I say typically, defenses are ahead of offenses. They've put up 31 and 37 points in the first couple of weeks. If their defense can come around, this is a team to watch.
Players of the game being announced on the field. Congratulations both to Tyler Meglin and to Patrick Engel, each team's quarterback, winning co-players of the game, one selected from each of the 2 teams. And I don't think there were any 2 players more deserving than the 2 of them after their performances in this one. Some final stats. Meglin, 15 of 21 for 176 yards. He was 10 of 12 in the first half. In the ball game, Patrick Engel, 27 of 46, 4 touchdowns, 269 yards through the air. Price, the leading receiver, 10 catches for 123 and 2 scores, including the game winner late. Receiving for the Yellow Jackets, Michael Slack, 5 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown, 4 catches for 63 yards and a score for Kyle Dunn. And remember, Slack in the first half, on the first drive of the game, also had a 34-yard pass. Running the football, Isaac Reed, 20 carries for 87 yards. Meglin, 14 carries for 87 yards. They combined for 3 touchdowns. Patrick Engel had 115 yards on the ground on 16 carries and a touchdown. Tony Davis, 3 carries for 40. Justin Magazine, 8 for 23. Price had 1 carry for 7 yards. Well, any final thoughts, Ryan?
I think as we expected, through a couple of weeks, expect the unexpected with this football team. Because you've had to replace so much, you've got a lot of youth, but you've also got a lot of talent. So week to week, I think you're going to see something different every week until they find their stride. So while disappointing today, there are a lot of things to build off of. You've had solid quarterback play through the first 2 weeks, and that was one of the big question marks, especially since Meglin was not pegged to be the starting quarterback this season. He has stepped into that role fairly well, so that is certainly a positive you take away from BW.
Final score here today, 37-35. The Polar Bears win their second road game of the season here in as many games. They will go to Heidelberg next week. That will be one heck of a ball game to watch between a Ohio Northern team that entering this week had received 1 vote, but they were not part of the D3Football.com Top 25. I'd imagine they'll at least receive more votes this week. Meanwhile, Heidelberg will probably still be ranked among the top 25 despite losing to number 10 John Carroll, who will host Baldwin Wallace in the annual meeting between those two teams, the crosstown rivalry in the OAC. Kickoff next week for BW will be at 7 o'clock at Don Shula Stadium in University Heights. The crowd at Don Shula Stadium next week is expected to be a very large one, so if you are local and able to go, we recommend getting tickets in advance of that contest. Big thank you to Kevin Ruppel, Jeff Miller, the entire sports information staff here at Baldwin Wallace. For Ryan McNaughton, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Saturday afternoon. The Yellow Jackets fall to 1-1 today with a 37-35 loss at home to the Ohio Northern Polar Bears. Until next time, thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you here at Treesel Field in a couple of weeks. So long, everybody.